Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Zack Golden. Welcome to another CSI Starbase, RGV Starbase Weekly live stream. Y'all can tell I have other things on my mind today as well, so yeah, sorry about that. Got a lot of stuff to cover today. There is just so much happening at Starbase. Great times to be covering all of this, and got a lot to mention as far as new or vehicle related things. Got some nice new information related to Booster 13 now that it's been returned back to the Massie's site. So got some cool stuff that we'll look at with that in a few minutes. And with us today we have Alex. So Alex, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's going to be another great show, and like Zach was saying, a lot of good things.
Yeah, and I believe it's just you and I today, right? And we have Astro Joe handling questions and donations.
Yes, indeed, my friends. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And I'll be here to take your questions and donations. Don't forget to do all the YouTube things and tell them you like us. And exclamation questions for your questions. Please keep them related to the portion of the show that we're currently on. You know, Massie, Sanchez, build site, launch site. Other than that, enjoy the show. Thanks.
Yeah, and I think we have Todd here as well. I'm not sure if he's planning on chiming in, but feel free if he wants to.
Yeah, I can if you need me. I was here to watch, but yeah, I can if you need me or if I see something.
Well, you're unmuted, so I figured you were trying to join in. All right. Cool. Well, yeah, let's go ahead and start the show off. We'll move over to Massie's. Like I said, got some cool stuff with Booster 13, which I'm sure most of you are aware was returned this week. I was going to show the pictures from like when it was actually returning, but the ground shots that we have after it arrived to Massie's are way better, so I'll probably show those first. But yeah, nice, cool, wide view right here of Massie's where they are currently rebuilding the static fire test stand, not really the test stand itself, but the methane farm and quite a lot other things that they're having to redo as well too. But let's go ahead and start off with Booster 13, which I was excited to see. I'm noticing I got some images in places they shouldn't be. Yeah, Booster 13 was delivered here. It's always funny to me that the way they chop these up. So like anytime they've recovered a booster, all they really care about is that aft section. So they're totally fine with leaving everything else down there. I'm sure most of everything else was fairly well scattered, but the Booster 13's LOX tank was fully intact when it sank. You know what? Maybe I should actually show. I didn't have that prepared, but maybe I should show that actually so we can remind ourselves of what happened with Booster 13. What was that? Flight 6? 5?
6, I thought, but it might be 5.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna pull this up really quick. So this was on TikTok. If I can get this video up. Yeah, so this was Booster 13 sinking after it landed. So it actually, unlike the last launch, it actually did have a successful splashdown, and then they shot it while it was in the water, and then it blew up. So this was after it actually sank. So you can see that pretty much the whole LOX tank was pretty much intact for the most part, other than the common dome. So basically, before they brought it up, okay, that's for later. Before they brought it up, they chopped off the rest of that LOX tank. They actually did have the landing tank visible, which was cool. I'll show some of those ground images really quick. These are actually from Starship Gazer, so pretty cool that most of the aft section was like in pretty decent condition, minus what the salt water did to it. But you can see that landing tank right here and all of the external bottles that are on the outside of the tank that basically expand the capacity of the landing tank. One of the coolest things that these images show, which honestly I've been waiting to see for a very long time, was the filtration system for the ice filters, basically. So this is at least part of it. You can actually see it a little bit better on this side. And I did put out an episode about this shortly after Flight 3, I think, Flight 4 maybe. There was a lot of it was pretty speculative. We kind of based what we thought it looked like off of some external markings of mounting brackets, essentially. And a lot of people had some doubts that it would be designed the way that we had it. And just as a refresher, that was kind of what I was showing in that other image right here. This is basically what that filtration system looked like as we had it designed. Obviously, it doesn't show the external bottles on here, which we were really confused if it could possibly be built this way because of those bottles. But this is basically how we had it designed. Basically a large frame with a screen on top of it, and it's honestly shocking, in my opinion, how close we were to actually getting that right. So this one actually looks a little bit lower than it should. I believe that it collapsed to the bottom of the tank, possibly. We're a little unsure of that, honestly, because at some points it looks like it fell down to the bottom of the tank, and then from some angles it almost looks like it's mounted to the bottom of the tank. So like it would instead of being flat like this, it may actually be slanted. So we're not 100% sure. It'd be like more like cone shaped, but that it's a little bit difficult to tell whether or not it fell to the bottom like this or if it actually is mounted at an angle like that. But either way, still fairly close on that, so that was exciting to see. By the time they brought it to Massie's, they had chopped off the rest of that landing tank, which was awfully nice of them because it allowed us to see some other details that we wouldn't have been able to otherwise. First of all, a lot of people were really, I definitely was kind of a bit shocked to see the actual filters on here. So we had them designed a little bit differently. I don't know if they're visible in this. Yeah, they are. So these were we had them as cone shaped filters, which were basically modeled off of previous versions of the ship that we've seen these filters on. So we kind of assumed that they would be the same. And it turns out that they changed them. So, well, I think actually older versions of the booster had these, and we kind of assumed that they were going to be similar. And it looks like they actually have flat filters on these. And, after talking about this over the last week or so, that we were kind of confused whether or not to have a fine mesh screen over these or not. Because you can kind of see the way that the mud is sticking to these. So it almost makes it seem like there's a fine mesh that's allowing the mud to stick like that on a flat plane basically. But I don't know. After zooming in on these, it to me it doesn't look like there's anything else. It's just these are the screens. So I have a feeling that because of the actual ice filters above, they don't need as fine of screens on the actual inlet filters anymore. And I guess on that note, I should also mention that these are not the full screen. This is just the actual frame for it. There should be another mesh that goes on top of it. And I think that probably would have gotten in the way when they were diving down to cut all of this up. So they probably ripped that screen out, the mesh part of it, and just left the frame. So and there would be 2 levels of this as well too. So they would have had to when they chopped the tank right here, they probably would have had that screen in the way. So I think they just ripped it out. But it's still pretty cool to actually see these. They're a lot more lower profile than what we thought they were. And also the ones for the center ring of 10 were a lot different than we expected as well too. So you can see they're more cylindrical, but then they kind of cut across them in order to allow them to fit with these pipes. These pipes were part of the reason we figured they were cone shaped. And it looks like I guess they're cone shaped on one side at least, but not on the other side. So it's cool that they left that on there so we could actually see it. And each one is actually different. I don't know if it's just because maybe this one was damaged or something, but they're all rotated differently, which is kind of funny to me. Most of them broke off. A lot of them broke off actually, so there's only a few for us to actually look at. But still really cool to see that. And then one of the other big things that we learned from this, which we didn't know before, we actually can see the inlets for the center engines. So the center engines right here, or these are also for the center engines, but this pulls from the landing tank. So when they're pulling from the main tank, this is obviously on top of those inlets, so they have pipes extending into this structural ring right here. And we had some speculation on what we thought those filters might look like, but now we actually kind of know, and we can really definitely see what they truly look like. So basically you have a pipe extending out here. It probably comes all the way into the center right there. And then you have basically a box with the filter right here. So it's it's sucking in through these. I think it even, maybe it's damaged right here. But yeah, it's basically pulling through here into the pipe, into those center engines. So you can see the other one right here, another center engine, and then right here is the other one. So they basically link. There's a T, more like a Y-shaped fitting that joins those two together. And then over here, we have two more, which really confused us at first, but these are actually the LOX drains. So curious why they have them like on a pipe like this, and not just like a hole with a valve, or maybe a filter over it or something like that. But yeah, so it looks like I don't know if it's like pulling from against the wall right here. But yeah, so this is basically how they drain the LOX tank after stage separation, or sorry, after boost back. So really cool to see that as well. And then one more detail that we found pretty interesting. You can actually see these pipes coming in here through the sidewall of the landing tank, which we initially thought was just when in some of the other images, when the landing tank was more intact. It's hard to see on this one. I guess I don't have the images that showed it that well. Yeah, it kind of looked like they were just regular inlets for the Ring of 10 for the landing tank, but you can see these ones basically stop at the wall, whereas this one actually goes through the wall. So that was quite perplexing at first, but then we realized that there's three of them. So you have mounting brackets right here, here, and here. So basically these are kind of like straws. So instead of just pulling from the sidewall of the landing tank, this is something I actually mentioned, I think, in that same episode, was that they would be kind of screwed if one of the center engines were to fail during the landing burn, because the Ring of 10 pull from higher up in that landing tank, so they don't have the ability to like suck from the bottom of the tank. And that was kind of the thing, was that like, okay, well, if you don't have the ability to pull from the bottom of the tank, then you can only really rely on these three engines for that final landing burn. And I think during flight 9, they had mentioned that they were going to attempt to intentionally leave one of those engines off, the center engines, and then use one of the engines from the outer Ring of 10 instead. And this is basically how they planned to do that. And interestingly, that they had this set up way back on Booster 13. They just weren't willing to try it until Flight 9, when they were going to ditch it in the ocean. But yeah, so they basically, you have 3 of the outer Ring of 10 that pull from the bottom of the landing tank. Like I said, basically through straws. So, I guess if let's say you lost this engine right here, then you would compensate with the one closest to it in the Ring of 10. So same thing with this one, you would go with this engine, and here you would go with can't tell which one it is, actually. I think it's this one that it goes to. But yeah, pretty cool to see that. Definitely answered a lot of questions for us as far as how that was actually going to work. So shout out to Booster 13 for blowing up in Mexican waters, because if not for that, maybe we wouldn't have have these images. I'm kind of hoping that Booster 18 does the same thing. With my luck, it will happen, and then they'll decide to like scrap it somewhere else where we can't see this stuff. But for now, they really only have one port where they can actually bring this stuff in at. So we do get kind of lucky to actually see it when it arrives. Did you have any thoughts on this, Alex, when you first saw it?
I was actually impressed with how close the ice mesh was, and I still think that they had a fine filter, and those are just support frames on all the inlet filters. But
yeah, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work that well if there wasn't another finer filter on, or finer screen on top of it.
Yeah.
It's interesting though the way they did it. We actually, Ryan and I were kind of talking about this as soon as we saw it. We're like, whoa, like that's so close to what you have that it almost looks like we had images of it,
Right.
which we did not. There was another angle of it actually.
This one it looks like it's connected under the auxiliary tanks, and it has
Yeah,
that sort of dome.
mhm. It is like a dome shape, yeah. And one of the things that I talked about in that episode was the possibility of um, basically the snow like leaking around the edges in between the stringers, because we weren't sure like how it would be mounted against the wall. And I think I actually probably have another angle to show that a little bit better. Let me just pull
With
that up
all the
really quick.
stringers and such, it would have been really challenging. Yeah, this is a good one.
Actually, I think there's a better this one. So yeah, this we were showing like it falling through the stringers right here. Just because we didn't see any welds in these areas on the outside of the tank, so we kind of weren't really sure if the frame would actually go all the way against the wall. And as we can actually see in this image, um, you could see these like little teeth down here, basically. So it looks like it is actually going around the stringers, which is cool. So the leakage around the edge is basically non-existent, which they definitely thought it through. I'm surprised we can't actually see that down here. Well, you got a little bit of debris in the way. Oh wow, here's the mounting brackets for.
It's a
Is
platform.
that the second level? That is the first level. So it did definitely collapse, um, at least partially, because it should have been on top of this.
Right. And that's a
Yeah,
bellows from one of the downcomer.
this one.
Yeah.
It looks like it.
Huh.
How'd it get way over there?
Spent a lot of time in the ocean.
Right. Well, because that should have been.
Exactly.
Is that on top of the common dome?
It's hmm.
I think
Unless it's
so.
from the center, but I didn't think the
Right here
downcomer. Yeah.
around this. Um, I don't
But I
think
thought they
so.
had the bellows at the common dome.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Huh.
Huh. I could sit here and go through all these renders all day, but we got too much to cover. So, yeah,
And
I actually never noticed that until now. That's really interesting. I want to go back and actually look to figure out where that is.
I
Oh,
think
hey, look, you can see right here that frame a little bit better.
oh yeah, that's crazy. And then the uh, vent or the drain elbows, I think it's when it's oriented over on its side, so it can everything should slosh over to that area.
Right, because after the flip maneuver, this is the Earth-facing side. Sorry. After a boost back is complete, this is the Earth-facing side of the tank, basically. So this is you can see the um,
Shines.
I always forget chines. Yeah, sorry, I was like trying to decide between chines and strikes. But yeah, you can
Right.
see the chines right here. So this is the back side of the booster, basically. So this is the Earth-facing side. So most of the fluid will be over, like in this area when they're doing that lock stump. Um, we did wonder like how they're pulling from the bottom of the tank, because like you have this big frame here, and as far as we could tell, there was no like penetrations through the side of it to allow the liquid oxygen to like flow into the center right here. So we
Mhm.
figured there would still be like fluid left over around that ring, but we haven't really seen any angles to show any differently that there's actually a way for it to like pass through here. But
Right.
I guess at that point your tank's mostly empty anyways. So
Yeah, could be pushing it up like a straw. Because
yeah. But one of the weird things that we noticed about this was that all of the valves were open. which was very curious because basically after boost back, you are only using during boost back, you're the 13 center engines. So you would think that these would actually be closed, but it seems like they're left open for some reason. There is the main fuel or main oxidizer, main fuel valves on the actual engines themselves. So there's a possibility that they leave these open in order to allow the chill down system to keep going. So like if you close these, then the Raptor chill system stops, which we actually were able to see in like the cosmic perspective close-ups of the landing burn, that the Raptor chill from the little ports on the bottom of the engines were still it was still venting. So think that maybe they leave these valves open to allow that basically cooling loop to continue through the engines, which makes sense because that's one of the big things on Raptor 3 that they want to do, is to have that internal cooling loop to basically allow them to not have to use the heat shield. So I guess in order for something like that to work, these valves have to remain open at all times. But yeah, interesting that literally every single one of them is open, all 30 of them that we can see.
Zach, could it be to help sink it? I see a lot of comments in chat that a lot of them think to help sink it. What do you think?
I mean, that would mean that the water would have to flow backwards up through the engine nozzle and then all the way through the engine plumbing in order to reach here. So you would also have to have every valve inside of the engine open, which I doubt that's the case. You're not sinking it through the engines. If anything, you would probably open up the valves on the side of the tank for like the RCS or to depress. I forget what those valves are called. So you'd open it up on the side of the tank instead of the engines. I don't think you're pulling water in through the engines like that, honestly.
At that point, the avionics are probably cooked from impact.
Yeah, hold on. Because you could see it when it was floating there. I mean, I just don't think you're sinking it through the engines. The weird thing about this is, though, that the way that the engines, because of how heavy they are, it basically forces the top of the tank up out of the water. So the valves never actually touch the water, really. So if you want to sink it through those valves, which are all the way up near the common dome, you really can't do it because the engines are so heavy that it's keeping those valves up out of the water. So I think that's part of the reason why they had to shoot it, because it wouldn't sink. Yeah. Actually, I think this would have been after they shot it. So the methane tank was probably missing already at this point. So that's probably why it's leaning up out of the water like that. Let me double check really quick.
It was bobbing around for quite a while, even after they shot it.
Well, yeah, because they shot it like fairly, like it wasn't that long after it landed where they shot it. It was like a few hours, and I think the sun was still going down. So yeah, it would have already been missing at this point. Astro Joe, do we have any questions on Booster 13 stuff before I continue with Massie's?
Yeah, I got a couple. I just wanted to acknowledge Six String Simpleton's question. How does the interior of B13 compare to the renders, which obviously you have been comparing? And it was pretty spot on. So I don't know if you wanted to touch any more on the comparison between what we see in the renders.
Yeah, I mean, the main difference I would say is just that it seems to mount somewhere down here, possibly, instead of like it basically, it's like I said, a bowl that goes down, which the reason we thought that wouldn't be the case is because it would then have to go around the 10 pipes for the landing tank, or sorry, for the center ring of 10. So that was like, we were trying to make it easier, like with consideration to like how you would actually install it, and that's why it went straight across. But then again, there was the the landing tank bottles, which got in the way as well. So we were really confused. And there actually are some interesting straps around here. So it's possible, like you can see another band right here. It's possible that they're mounted on the actual tanks themselves, but it's difficult to know for sure. Yeah, I mean, other than that, the frames are fairly similar. They like what we did was I probably need to grab a I have a little render of that here. So that's not the best one. This probably shows better. So there's the actual frame, which we thought would be enough because on top of that was, where is it? I think it's this one. That's with the screen on top. Okay, yeah. So we basically put like a plate on top of this with holes in it, in order to like reduce the amount of like framework you needed across, and then you would have something to lay that screen on top of. But they sorry, I'm getting confused where I have all this stuff at. They have a lot more cross supports on the frame, and the actual ones going across laterally. Laterally, yeah. These are is this radial? Or is that radial?
Axial and axial and
Yeah.
lateral,
Axial and radial,
or the other
I
way
don't know.
around.
Anyways, whatever.
Longitudinal and lateral.
Yeah. So basically, they have like twice as many going in this direction, and then we had none going in this direction, which they're showing here. So you need that kind of support because they have to be able to like walk on it and stuff. So I would say this is actually beefier than what we had, and way harder to install as well too. Like there's so many like little tiny. I don't know. I thought at first these were rivets, but I think they're actually bolts, like small bolts, and they may actually. What was that?
I was thinking that they would just spot weld it, but nope. Those look like bolts.
Yeah, they look like. I'm trying to think of how to describe these. The like nuts are like caps almost. There's a special type of nut, and I'm not a nut guy, so I don't know how to explain what kind of nuts these are. But yeah, so many of them, and like I can only imagine having to do this because you're like reaching underneath there with that nut, and you're like bolting each one down.
They might have spot welded those to the backside.
Oh, yeah. Just like weld them on there so that they're just already in place. That would make sense because if you're like accidentally dropping these, the screens on here are not. They're not. They would allow stuff to pass through them. Like these could prevent like larger tools from dropping in, but not those small little, nuts and bolts. So yeah, I can only imagine how annoying it is to install all of this. Like you're bringing in fairly large sections. I guess they're the full length right here is what you're bringing in. So it's like a almost like pieces of a dome, like the forward domes, how they make them in sections like that. You're bringing that in through the opening of the tank. So yeah, I don't know. It's like I said, cool that we actually get to see this, and also just surprising at the difficulty in installing this. And it kind of makes sense when you think about like how long it takes to prepare boosters for flight, because I'm pretty sure they don't install this until after the cryo test, or possibly even after the static fire test. Because like if you have any issues with valves or something like that, like the last thing you want to do is have all of this installed, go through the cryo test, and be like, oh dang it, we got to get in there and like fix this valve, and remove panels in order to get down there. So I imagine they probably wait until after at least cryo test, after probably after static fire test is when I would do it. So that's that final launch prep that we see. This is part of that, I think. Cool. Any other questions?
All right, right on. Yeah, let me address some support here real quick, and I do have one more question, but I got to thank Event Dudes for 5 gifted memberships, as well as Martin for 1 gifted membership. Those were during last night's show and tell. And then starting today, support Daniel Hogman, thanks for gifting 5. RC Horseman, thanks for gifting 10. Yap Pipers, gifting 5, as well as Nicholas Hedges, gifting 5. Thanks for all of that. William Foss just became a member. I appreciate that support as well. And Kenneth with a $10 super chat says, thanks, y'all. That addresses some awesome support. Thank you very much, everybody, for that. I do have a question from Crane Man. I'm going to take autocorrect and try to make sense of some grammar out of it for you here. Could the mesh have corroded and vanished, like the mesh on the smaller filters inside of the aft of Booster 13?
I don't think that's how corrosion works.
Right.
I've heard a lot of people say that, but like, I mean, there's too many other small things down here that are still, I mean, I don't know. I guess possibly. Because you do see, keep in mind, this is stainless steel. So like some of this is corrosion like in these areas, but a lot of this is more just like salt buildup, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like the basket strainer mesh is almost like cloth, but metallic cloth, but there's no obvious mounting points on these frames.
Yeah. I just don't think that it would disappear like that. Because everything else, like there's so many other smaller components down here that are still present. So I don't know. I just have a feeling that that's not what happened. But I mean, I'm sure it's possible.
All right, well, good enough. I'd say we can go ahead and move on. My queue is clear.
Whoa. I didn't even notice these before. This is really cool.
Oh,
All of the
actuators?
pneumatic lines for the valves.
Yeah.
Pretty tidy.
Spend hours on these.
Right. I like the craftsmanship. I happen to know the few of the supervisors from the super heavy team, and when I saw this, they like commented on it. I was like, wow, they can't believe these landing bottles still remained on the tank, and they're like, yeah, we got some good welders. I'm like, yeah. It's really funny that when I first talked to them about this, like after Booster 14, they said that when they installed these, they were like worried about them shearing off. I guess it was actually the welders who installed these. When they installed them, they came back to the build team and they were like, hey, like these are under supported. And they're like, no, it should be fine. And they're like, no, they're going to shear off. And so they actually added extra reinforcement. So when he said that we got good welders, like it was literally the welders who stopped these from shearing off by adding additional supports. Yeah. Anyways, so we'll continue on. What was that?
And to think, we thought when they were adding these tanks, that would be the hardest thing they had to do on the booster.
Yeah, right. Alrighty. It was like a whole 40 minutes talking about Booster 13. Yeah, I guess this is probably gonna end up being a 3-hour show. So let's go ahead and move over to the static fire stand area. I guess we'll start there and then work our way back. I got that crane up and out of the way. They disassembled it and yeah, basically scrapping it. And big insurance claim right there. We also have the Raptor maintenance platform was finally removed from this. You can kind of see all what was left behind. I do probably think that this is damaged the concrete on here. So
Yeah.
if anything, yeah, like it. I would imagine they got to break all that concrete out and report. Like the steel should probably be fine, but I don't know. Maybe they'll just end up making a whole new one.
There's potentially all the hydraulics underneath for the latching mechanism. And if all that oil burnt, it probably could have
You mean
potentially.
for whatever controls the moving it across the rails?
And there's all the mount points underneath to hold it down.
Really?
Yeah, there's that grid on the. I thought you pointed out to me way back when. Anyway,
I'm probably gonna have to refresh my own memory on that.
yeah,
I've been working on an episode about this, but I haven't gone back to this specific part, and I've been mostly focusing on the rest of Massie. So yeah, I'm gonna have to refresh my memory on that.
Yeah, it's deep in the woods.
Yeah, one thing we don't know though is how it definitely has some kind of wheels on it that allow it to move across here, but we don't know how it what powers those wheels, where the motors are. But whatever moves it across here is probably damaged. So imagine they may have to end up removing this whole thing, possibly. So the easiest way to do that, more than likely, is to actually move the static fire stand out of the way first, which I think would require a crane at this point if they can't get this over here. So luckily they have a decently sized crane that may. Well, that one probably can't lift it, but the other one can, the LR 11,000.
You might have to reconfigure it.
Oh, yeah, this thing is extremely heavy because it actually moves without counterweights. Yeah, so it's offsetting, I think, 180 tons worth of counterweights. So I'm pretty sure this thing is right around 200 tons, which I don't know if the LR 11,000. This is an 11,000, right?
Yeah,
it could probably lift that.
I'm not sure with
not with the body load.
Yeah,
you're probably right. Yeah, better to not try that, I guess, and just go ahead and reconfigure after the incident with the other crane. Yeah. So the other big thing they got going on is obviously redoing the methane tank farm. We have seen some new equipment come in here for this, which is something that we predicted fairly well as far as how they were going to do this. So you can see that they got these basically skids right here, which these are very similar to not very similar. They're identical to the ones at the launch site. So they're basically the same as these. And matter of fact, we actually, when they started to remove a manifold off of here, it's actually gone. And we thought they were going to take some of these and send them over to Massey's. Thankfully, they didn't do that because I would have been, not like my opinion matters, but I would have been mad about that. But they did bring in some new ones. So they're designing similar systems down for Pad 39A. And then obviously they're going to need them for LC 37.
And randomly they're SpaceX branded.
Wait,
on the lower cross member, the one in back by the Rio is a little more obvious.
Oh yeah, so these are made at one of their facilities, and I was actually, you know what, I was supposed to put out an article about this, and I just it's been 2 months, and I keep forgetting to do it because I'm doing other things. But these are actually made at the Sidco facility where they initially, where the Starship program started. They were when they were competing between Starbase and Sidco. So they're used that facility for building these skids. So the entire tank farm was essentially built. Oh, half of it. All of the skids were built down there. All of the pipes were done in the ground fabrication building at Sanchez. But yeah, so these are basically brought over directly from Florida, more than likely. So that's why they got here relatively quick, because they were pretty much already ready. And let's see if I have a better like close up of this. I do it just want like a different angle. This might be good. Not really. There. So they are moving things further away, kind of. You still have your 2 storage tanks, I guess, are probably the closest part of the methane farm to the actual static fire stand now. And then they basically flipped everything over in this direction. So they literally turned all of the tanks around. This one they relocated closer in this direction. And so all of the methane, 2 methane pumps are going to be back here. And then I imagine the heat exchange or the heat exchangers will probably be I don't know, either
Might be on
over
those
here.
red stands.
Oh yeah, they got stands for them. Yeah, so they'll probably go right there next to them. So they are kind of keeping it more out of the way. Honestly though, like if that same explosion happens again, like you would still end up with the same amount of damage. Like a lot of the vehicle parts did fall right here, but I don't know. In my opinion, I don't know. Maybe they'd be a little bit more protected, but I guess the further you get them away, the better. But I still feel like you would have a big problem. But there's really not much you can do about that. So this is, I guess, the best you can do. So on the other side over here, this part is kind of confusing me a little bit, but we do have the underground culvert for the cryo lines. So they're redoing this. They're not 100% sure how it's going to look. Obviously, they had to remove everything from the trench here, and then this will go over and then to the stand. And then I think this is replacing the comms bunker that was here, and the only real indication of that so far is that there's all of this conduit coming up directly towards that. So I think they'll probably end up being holes through this wall or something like that for all of that stuff to enter through or something. But this is interesting because it's a much smaller building than those comms bunkers that they had. So do you think this will be like 2 floors or something?
Yeah, because those wing walls make it appear like they're just using that as a basement level.
Yeah, it looks like a baby integration tower.
Right?
Imagine you'll have like a big door through here. Yeah, I mean you can see the rebar up through here, so I don't know if it's implying a second level or if that's just for the roof.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a concrete roof. There's no bars extending up.
Yeah. Interesting. But yeah, so I mean, maybe they're packing more stuff into a smaller space or something like that. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see what they end up doing with that. And then they also have started running conduit over to the actual static fire stand, so they're breaking all this concrete out so they can get that all the way over here. I was thinking that maybe there's a chance that they rotate the ship so that the QD's on this side, but I actually can't really think of a benefit in doing that. And I think there's something else that's preventing them from doing that. There's another reason you wouldn't want to, but I can't think of it right now.
They're having the tile slide away from the opening, I thought.
Yeah, that's true.
But
So you
that
don't like
seemed...
I mean, it's a possibility. Let's say it's a possibility that they may put the gantry on this side instead of over on this direction. Like I said, not a ton of benefit in doing that. I mean, it still would get completely destroyed in that same event. So, yeah, over on the water farm, they have been replacing some of the pipes that got damaged down here. And, yeah, not a ton to talk about over there.
That they're digging up some concrete behind it.
Yeah, back here.
Yeah.
I think that's just like some of the electrical stuff that was in the ground.
Yeah. And it's a good hobby of theirs.
Right? Destroying concrete?
Yeah.
Yeah. So over in this area, this was something I thought would happen, but not over here. It's really confusing. So they're actually basically these LOX tanks over here, they're not using them. They have never they've filled them, I think, but they don't actually use them. So like during the booster, I don't know how deep I want to go into this because I'm basically doing an episode about it, but they basically only use LOX right now for ship cryo tests and Satisfier tests. For booster cryo tests, they only use liquid nitrogen currently. And that part of that is because they're not using these tanks. And I think part of the reason they're not using these tanks is, honestly, I'm not. Well, yeah, it's a big, huge. It's. I don't know how deep I want to go into this. Just thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'll skim the surface. Yeah. I think part of it has to do with like pump capacity. So you're like running your LOX through these heat exchangers, and yeah, I'm skipping over that. What I will say is they do seem to want to increase their pump capacity, and I think part of that is related to these tanks. So when they have two methane pumps over here, then they'll have two LOX pumps over here, which will basically outperform these tiny ones that they have down here. And because of that, I imagine it's almost like double the amount of actual pump capacity. So they basically will put in two additional heat exchangers over here, which is interesting. Very interesting because your pumps are over here, your heat exchangers are over there, and the place you need to actually send that to is over here. So I don't get it. It seems like they're going to have to go to the heat exchangers and then back to this manifold. But I guess when they're using it at the static fire stand, it'll just go in this direction over to the stand. But coming back for the cryo station is interesting, to say the least.
I think they're moving the heat exchangers.
You don't think these are mounted here currently?
Oh wait,
This one?
I didn't see those. Okay, never mind then.
Yeah, I hated that when I saw it. I was like, why? Like, move them right here. Don't put them there.
That just ruined my afternoon.
And like the crazy part is like, yeah, there's so much back and forth because your supply is over here. So it's coming down here to the pumps, back, and then back again. So like it doesn't make sense. I think all of this, they may have to move the liquid oxygen to come in this direction just to reduce the amount of back and forth, or else you're gonna have like 6 sets of pipes back there.
Right.
Weird. They do have these stands right here, so it's possible that they may come across the backside of this and just basically shift the direction that the LOX stuff is moving. But yeah, either way, it's a sign of a decent reconfiguration that's going to happen here soon. And I have a feeling this stuff was going to happen anyways, because they've been waiting to use these LOX tanks for a reason. So I believe that this stuff was going to happen one way or another, and they haven't done a full cryo test on a booster since like booster 10, maybe booster 9, when they actually filled up both tanks at the same time. They basically do one tank at a time, and it really is because they're not using these tanks. So I think they finally want to be able to do real cryo tests here, or full cryo tests. And this is something that was going to happen either way. But yeah, they're kind of just like taking advantage of the time to do it now. This is very curious though. So moving on to the actual stand itself. What's this?
I think it's form work for the trench.
Oh, for the
Yeah.
okay,
Well, look at
gotcha.
all those embeds.
Or maybe their plates to go over the top of it. Like
Nah,
the
I think it's a little early for that, and they don't have a lot of the bracing.
okay. Um, the actual cryo stand, they are still working on this. I think you can see the guy down here. I think they're hooking up some of the hydraulics for the actuators. And they have not actually installed, they're still missing one of the two
Three of,
clamp positions.
I
3?
think
Is there
it's
another one down here missing?
yeah, because they switched 3 of those. If you on the side, they're laterally supported. They rotated 90 degrees. The pivot points on the left, that to the left of missing one, yeah. And
That's weird.
yeah, there's a different arm. I think if you pull back, we can see it. Yeah, that one.
Why? You know what that's
Uh,
about?
I think it's just for different lateral support. Didn't make a lot of sense.
Maybe these are some kind of like the alignment pins almost,
Yeah,
but I don't get how being supported in 2 locations would allow it to like move.
that's the
So
reason that is kind of baffling. You removed some of the degrees of freedom for. This will strictly just be testing the F dome structure.
yeah, curious. Yeah, so they still have all of the at least parts of the clamps down here, and then I think these little balls down here may be part of those as well too, like the actual um, uh, locator pins, basically. So like there's a socket on the bottom of the booster that these fall onto these, and then the clamps actually latch after that. So they're starting to get this together. Not exactly a huge rush because booster 18 is only half complete right now. But I think they still have a good ways to go. They have the motor accumulators. I think they're still missing a reservoir, but oh wait, it might actually be right there. That's the reservoir. So yeah, they're making lots of progress, and I think it's not too long to go. I liked the other one better, I'm not gonna lie, but this one's still kind of cool. As far as the QDs go, not a lot of work, not a lot of progress over here. We still haven't seen them actually build anything up towards the actual 2 QD locations. So surprising that stuff seems to be coming in super late, apparently.
I have a feeling I'll just show up nearly complete from McGregor.
Right. Yeah. What else? What else is there at Massie's that we haven't talked about?
That's about it.
Oh, this was cool. For some reason, they were yanking off one of the nozzles. I wonder if they're doing that to all of them, and they just started with one. And I couldn't even tell if they actually cut it or if they just literally pulled it off. And I also don't know why. I don't know why they did that. Because if they
No
really
idea.
wanted to, like, you could still remove the engines, I'm sure, because all the actual mounting hardware should be in decent shape, and like you can still remove the bolts from here. So, yeah, curious. Let's see. They still have not, for some reason, done this test. I think they still have some setup work to do on this. Most of the actuators seem like they're connected, but Yeah, they just haven't done the test yet.
Are they doing something? No, that isn't an air hose. Little neon green on the ground lower level.
Oh yeah, this one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for a
so they
second.
have. I think there's some more sensors on some of these that maybe need to be connected. They have connected them on most of the locations. It looks like. Obviously, the rods going up to the cap are connected. The ones going into the tank are connected. So yeah, I'm not sure what's taking so long on this, but it's an awfully long setup process for sure. But as far as we know, I think ship 38 should be rolling out tomorrow.
Tonight or tomorrow?
Maybe tonight. I don't know. One of the two. Ship 38 will be performing its cryo test, as far as we know. So it seems like they are. I mean, I guess all of this stuff is good to go, even though it looks kind of bad. Yeah.
It'll probably be
I was really hoping they were going to replace this stuff, but like, whatever. I'm like trying to find an angle where I can actually see it better.
They're reconfiguring all that lock side. They very well may rip that out after they do 38.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of have a feeling this is going to have to move.
Yeah, it's
Like,
probably going to be on skids like everything else.
yeah, good point. That's probably, yeah, okay. Maybe it doesn't look as bad as it, maybe it's not as bad as it looks.
Yeah. And they may or may not use the heat exchangers for the proof tests and conditioning.
True, yeah. I was really hoping they were going to convert these to liquid nitrogen tanks, but that's a completely different story. So yeah, let's see. Do we have any other questions at Massie's? I don't know if I missed anything. If I did, then too bad, because we got to move on. So, Astro Joe.
All right, yeah, let's address some of that. I have some support as well. Thanks, Jax, for gifting a membership. Yazada with the $20 super chat says, I'm really impressed by how accurate the booster plumbing renders turned out to be. And yes, I must agree that that was pretty accurate. Thank John Drew for becoming a member, as well as Rick D. Thanks for that support. Question from Crane Man. Why did they locate so many crane mats at Massie's? Is there another crane coming, or will they be used for SPMTs moving around some tanks?
Oh my gosh, I completely forgot about this. So it's a good question, but I don't know about the crane mats, but I think maybe they might end up having to. It's going to be interesting to see how they do this. So I can't really find them. I was looking for them earlier, and I don't know where they're at. But they actually brought new pipes for the flame bucket. They got to be around here somewhere. Oh, you know what? I bet you they're probably under this tent at the front,
Right.
which I don't think I have a good shot of. Maybe from the long distance shot. I don't know. I can't see the tent. But there's a tent down here. Oh, there we go. Maybe they're inside here. But yeah, so they brought new pipes for the deluge system. So more than likely, they're going to be replacing significant portions of it. And I guess that the question is if you do it down there or if you pull the whole frame out, which might be more difficult, but also easier to actually do, because it depends on how much of it needs to be replaced, I guess. I'm sorry, I'm like trying to find the angle that I'm looking for, but I can't. So yeah, lots of crane mats, but I think maybe they were those mats were already over here previously, and then they just moved them over to here. So that's why there's so many of them. But there is a possibility that they may end up having to actually lift that bucket out of here, which would suck. But probably, like I said, easier than working on it down there. Depends on whether or not they're replacing individual pipes or whole sections of it. yeah, so that's going to be interesting. There's definitely a lot of work that's going to be happening down there that we won't be able to see.
All right, and then we've got a question from Daniel Hogben. What is the benefit of recovering the business end of Booster 13? I have some theories, but I would like to hear Zach's.
Alex, what do you think?
It was a navigation hazard, and it was shallow enough waters that divers would have been visiting it. So remove it because it's a bit of a nuisance.
Right. Yeah, because it was only. I mean, in that video that I showed, it basically bottomed out. Like you can see when it hits the bottom. So right there is the bottom of the ocean. So yeah, you can easily dive down there. It's what, probably like, I don't know, 30 meters deep, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely a good reason to remove it. And for the most part, I don't think there's any boosters that they haven't removed the aft section. Booster 15 exploded. 14 was recovered. Yeah. I think it's just like a standard practice. Like they don't want to leave those down there. And like Alex said, it kind of a hazard laying on its side like that. You could have something strike it. So, oh yeah. And I think the Mexican president complained about it. She complained twice. She complained that it was there in the first place. And then she also complained that they came to remove it. So yeah, she's got to make up her mind. Yeah, I'm glad they recovered it because we get to find out stuff. And like I said, I'm kind of hoping that they do the same thing with 18 because I don't know. I feel like it would be kind of reckless to try and catch a version 3 booster the very first time. So probably a good idea to do a water landing with that one. And in that case, we'll get to see it recovered, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. All right, a question from Cumulus Granitis. Why are there no rams for the outer 20 ring engines on the booster thrust puck stand?
Why are there no what?
Why are there no rams for the outer 20 ring engines? Because they're not a part of the thrust puck.
Yeah, the aft sleeve where the outer 20 engines are mounted is like easily the strongest part of the entire vehicle. It's the most heavily reinforced load-bearing structure on the vehicle right here. And that's not what the thrust simulation test is basically testing where the weld between the sleeve and the common dome and the actual thrust puck itself. They're not really concerned about the load-bearing structure, the main load-bearing structure.
Right on. And the last one I'll take for Massie's is from Sayad Usmani. How long do we expect the static fire stand to take to be repaired?
It's probably the easiest part of the whole repair, honestly. If they're talking about the stand itself, I'm not sure. I mean, I personally don't see this being operational until early October, if I had to guess.
Seems fair.
Yeah. End of September, early October. That would be a miracle, I think. They're definitely moving fast, but like there's a lot to do. Especially with the methane farm. A lot to do. Cool. All right. So let's go ahead and move on. I do want to. What was that?
I just say sounds like a plan. That's all I got.
Yeah, I was going to show some stuff from the port. I will just briefly because I like it. We haven't showed it in quite a while, so anybody curious about the progress of the LNG facility, it is definitely coming along, but they're not even halfway done, I think. This thing is crazy. The amount of equipment down here.
Yeah, I think it's only 2 of the 4 trains are eventually going to build on the site.
Is that what you call these?
Yeah.
Trains?
Yep. Process trains.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. Are there 4? I could tell that there was like the footings for this doesn't look quite the same.
I thought they were going to expand it to 4. But
Okay. That's wild. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they have a ton of stuff down here that they haven't started. Again, I do personally think we're going to see an air separation plant down here. They haven't started it. I'm expecting it to be down in this area right here at the end of this, because they're going to need a lot of liquid nitrogen for all of their cooling and stuff. So I'm just following the flow path of all of this. I'm assuming it's going to come from this direction, but yeah, pretty cool. We're also expecting to see some large tanks coming in soon at the launch complex. So that's another reason why I always check the port, see if those are here. Although I'm sure if it came in via a barge, somebody would have already noticed that. Yeah, but cool images, lots of cool stuff down here. They're doing a lot of dredging work in the channel still. So they got several dredging machines. I think this is one.
I think so.
Yeah. And then they have, I think there's like at least 2 more.
Yeah, closer to.
Oh, that's not it.
Yeah, I thought it was closer to the Gulf side. I just remember there's a couple busily working.
Yeah, I was literally just looking at them a little bit ago. Huh. I don't know what I did with those images. Oh, aircraft carriers taking forever to be disassembled.
Yeah.
Making good progress though. Oh, this is one right here. And then I think there might be yet another one. I don't know. Whatever. If y'all have access to the images, you can go through all of these. Let's go ahead and move over to Sanchez. There's some other stuff I wanted to show before then, but I think I'll wait. We'll just start at Sanchez first. So like I was saying earlier, the ground fabrication building, super busy, making all of the new pipes for everywhere. Some of them are being brought in, but most of them are basically being assembled here. So like everything for the tank farm. Some of the stuff for Massie's is being made in here as well too. You just see random pipes all over the place. They have added this new building onto here recently, which no idea what that's about, but yeah, this is one of the longest standing buildings on site, I want to say, which is kind of misleading because it got rebuilt, but it's still the same building. It just got relocated. This is one of the few original buildings that's still here.
Yeah. Thought it was part of the Texas University system, like the Stargate building.
I doubt it, but it's possible. We'll see if I could see down here that truck that's on the side of the road. It's just out of view. There's a better angle that shows it. So over down here, we can see the huge generator on this truck. So these are what I mentioned what we've been talking about for a while, that they were removing the generators from this facility right here. You could, oh wow, I should have just showed this one. So this was shortly after they lifted one of those generators onto the truck. So these are 18 cylinder engines. I think two of them are still in here, possibly. It's difficult
Looks
to see.
like it.
Yeah, at least one for sure. But yeah, so they removed these. Kind of curious what they're gonna do with them. I have speculated that they'll go to the launch site, but I don't understand why they're leaving if that's the case. So the fact that they are going somewhere else currently, and we haven't found them like in any of the storage yards, any of the components for these, so it almost seems like they're sending them somewhere else. But when we get to the launch site, you'll see why I still think they might be going there. But I have my doubts at the same time. So elsewhere at Sanchez, not the angle I want. Yeah, so all the stuff that was over here for the booster QDs have moved out, other than the actual door for the QD. They do have some other interesting things down here. I think, is this part of that generator?
Yeah, it's one of the stacks.
Okay. I don't know if this was all part of that too, or if this is something that we should expect to see at the launch site soon.
They look like parts of extensions to pipeways.
Yeah. Not a lot of exciting stuff down here. They're still making some stands for the Star Factory. This is for the engine install platform that they're building in Megabay 2. The actual platform itself is nearly complete. We have not seen any clamps installed in this yet, which is, in my opinion, the most interesting thing about this, because it'll explain whether or not the clamps are on the ship or on the booster, which is basically the deciding factor on whether or not V3 ships can be compatible with V2 boosters, which I don't think they are, but yeah, if depending on what these clamps look like, that'll basically determine whether or not they're compatible. But even on that note, I don't think it matters, because they wouldn't redo the QDs. I mean, maybe they would redo the QD system on Tower 1 in order to work with the V3 ship. I highly doubt that, but yeah. Yeah, so these platforms down here, super curious. What?
He's got to get an extra level.
Why? Yeah, these are interesting. So you have two that are the same right here. There's basically a smaller column on the bottom, and then you have two larger ones. Wait, no, I think this is two small ones and then a tall one right here. And then this one is interesting because there's a tall one in the middle, so it's a bit more spacing between them. And I think you can see the different size columns here. So still curious what these are actually for, because the only thing that it kind of makes sense is for normal ring sections, but like before anything gets added on the inside, because like once you put stringers on the inside, I think maybe it wouldn't be like this would collide with the stringers. But just welding tank sections together, to me, it doesn't really seem all that necessary to have entire stands just for welding ring sections. But one of these days, maybe we'll figure out what the purpose of these is. Got some new platforms down here, which we don't know what those are about. I did think maybe these were mounting, just like something to sit those generators on top of, but now that there's two of them, it doesn't really work. So no idea what those are, but probably something that we'll look back on and be like, oh, okay. The QD, Alex, do you think they've done anything to this? I can't tell. I think they added some pipes on the side, right?
Yeah, the last week or two, they've been putting the high pressure lines. They have like two people slowly working on it.
trying to get a closer view of that. Oh. Okay, so yeah, all the high pressure lines, and then they still haven't done any of the actual main cryo lines yet, though.
No. And I don't even see any of that hardware on site yet.
No. Still got more gas manifolds to install in here, apparently.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is taking a long time because, the facility that's making these in Florida are prioritizing everything else. But, I mean, I guess they do have all the gas manifolds already. It's just pipes that they're waiting on, which would be the ground fab building.
And the new hand. Or
And?
the end piece.
Oh, yeah, that's
extension.
interesting that hasn't shown up either. So down here, I mentioned earlier that they took part of the pump manifold apart at the launch site, and they've brought it here for some random reason. I think somebody had some theories on it yesterday in show and tell, but I can't remember what that was. And then down here, I think these are parts for the Gigabay, at least these down here.
There's a column embeds.
Okay. So they just don't have the rods on them.
Right. Well, the rods are just hundreds of them on this next to it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I honestly thought that these were for scaffolding.
No. They're like 2 or 3 inch stainless steel bolts.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Those are some deep embeds. So I guess we know how thick the floor is going to be. So that's probably about 8 feet, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those trailers are 8.5, and they're about the same width.
Right. I don't know. I didn't realize that those were okay. Anyways, yeah, that's pretty cool though. So this is like some of the first stuff for the factory or the Gigabay that we've actually seen show up. No steel yet, which is understandable because they're quite a ways away from that. And we also don't know where they're going to actually construct those sections, or if they are going to construct sections or just lift everything, like a standard building with tower cranes and whatnot. I don't think we've seen anything saying that there will be tower cranes here yet.
I looked yesterday, and there hasn't been any postings from the FAA yet.
Interesting. So why did they do this? They have a new road down here, which basically completes a circle going around the production site. So they got rid of this little tent that was down here, which allows them to. Dude, it'd be cool if they did a Formula One race here.
Right. At least shifting carts.
It's not long enough to make a Formula One race interesting, but yeah. Anyways, so yeah, for some reason I don't know what this is about, but you could see the cryo station for the ship is down here, so they will probably be moving, like I said, ship 38 out tonight or tomorrow, but they're definitely ready to go already, so that should be moving in there soon. Oh, it's so big, like vehicles will actually move along this for some reason. Like it's clearly meant for SPMTs.
I mean, maybe they're moving parts of the rocket garden.
Because like when you move vehicles out, you're just gonna make this turn right here. You don't need to.
Right.
I guess maybe
Zack,
you could possibly have one coming in and one going out, and they're like a traffic jam, so you pull in here in order to let the other one by or something. What was that, Todd?
In show and tell, they talked about the big rig trucks coming around there, going straight through, then backing into the new loading dock, and then out the other side. That it might make it easier for them.
It's a pretty wide radius turn, even.
I don't know about that. Because, yeah, I don't know about that. I guess we can look at that loading dock really quick. So the loading dock is what? Further over. Maybe. Do we even have shots of that this week?
Yeah, there was some in there.
Well, it's over here, but I don't know if. I don't think there are any that actually show it. Oh, maybe there's one over
Village
here.
side.
There we go. So yeah, the loading dock is over here, and I mean, you can just pull in and then back in like that. I can't see a benefit in how this would possibly relate to that loading dock. Yeah, curious though. I will go back over there, and I don't know. I don't think there's anything else at Sanchez that I've missed. Todd, was there anything else or Todd or Alex, like anything else that I missed down here?
Not really, because they started cleaning it up the other week, and
Yeah. Cool.
I think you got it all.
All right. Well, let's go to the Gigabay, which is something Alex and I mean, we settled this a while ago now, but
yeah,
this was like a big debate for a while whether or not they were going to do CFA piles, which obviously, as of the last 2 weeks, it's been very clear. But they have made a massive amount of progress with this. They've already basically started excavating this corner right here, which is kind of shocking to me. I'm surprised that they've finished all of this already. I have a feeling they've got them all the way down here finished as well.
I think they do.
I mean, they were tag teaming in this area for a while, like especially around the edges. But this guy has been in the middle quite a bit, and you can see piles around the middle. But I mean, it almost seems like they're a lot further along than they are just when you see them already starting to excavate this. But I feel like there's less piles here than there was at the one in Florida.
I thought there was 4 and 6, and this looks like it's 4 and 4, but I might be misremembering.
Yeah, when they excavate all of this, it'll be easier to see. But yeah, definitely some good progress that they're already reaching this point where they can start to excavate all of this, and doubt they'll start cropping anything down yet. As far as all of the, actually, I thought they did start. There's some few down here.
I think they're gonna. This is the same way they did Megabay 2. They started at which corner, and then just worked themselves around.
Right. Yeah, so I think they may start going all the way down to this edge as far as excavation goes, but not sure at the same time because they have been using this as a offload area. But yeah, this is just super busy down here. The rate that the concrete trucks are coming in here is almost higher than the Pad B operations, and almost even more than the Pad A when they redid the foundation for that. I mean, even just right here, there's what 8 of them. So yeah, they're just constantly rolling in. I think last night we were talking about the additives that they're using in this. Actually, let me just take a step back because there's another detail about this which is interesting. So as of last week, they had started making this new pad out near. This is the port connector road. So this is Highway 4. You can see concrete trucks that are leaving Starbase. This is where like they move all of the heavy equipment, like the tower sections and big tanks that come in. Booster 13, all came in through here. And right at that connection, they have this pad right here, which is Starship Gazer actually went down here to look at one of the signs in front. So this is going to be a batch mixing plant for concrete, which is hilarious. This is like something I predicted that they were going to do this before they started Pad B, and then they didn't. And then I was like, all right, well, they're just never going to do it. But now they're making one, which is interesting.
Just
Like
laughing.
they seriously needed this 5 years ago. And it's amazing to me that they're just doing it now because there've been so many just massive concrete jobs that they've done, and it just seems late. And even right now, this is like they're bringing in thousands of concrete loads. Why didn't they start that 6 months ago?
Yeah, I think they're 60 or 90 a day, 24 hours for this.
Yeah. So why didn't they make the batch mixing plant like 4 months ago in preparation for this?
Yes.
I'm just curious if it'll even be done by the time they start doing. I mean, I guess there's not much setup for a batch mixing plant. But yeah, that should be basically. And the company that's doing that is the same company that's doing the concrete for this. So we're kind of assuming it's all related to this, but there is a possibility that they may actually end up redoing the highway. And if that's the case, that would make that batch mixing plant make way more sense than for this building. Obviously, when they redo Pad A, there's gonna be a lot of concrete involved in that, but that would be quite a large gap between when they're finished concrete on this and when they need it for Pad A. So there might be some kind of announcement about Highway 4 coming soon.
I know they wanted to start it in the fall or winter.
Yeah, because I mean, this is so Highway 4 is completely asphalt, but the port connector road is concrete, and that's what Highway 4 needs to be. So this makes way more sense to be used for that work if they stretch Highway 4, adding. I wonder they would have to add lanes. I think.
It's supposed to be. They're moving it to 4 lanes with a 8 or 12-foot center, and then 4 to 8-foot whatchamacallit, shoulders.
Wow.
Yeah, it's gonna be. It's almost wide enough that you could have a transport and have the cars go on either side.
That's cool.
So,
I mean,
yeah,
if they're gonna ship things to Florida, well, I doubt this will be done before then. Not even close. By the time this is finished, the Gigabay in Florida will probably be done.
yeah.
But
Unless
maybe not the factory.
maybe if Texas has different public works, or maybe it's privately contracted.
Well, I mean, it'll be a little bit different than the other highway construction in between Massie's and the launch site because they had to basically do small sections at a time because it was only 2 lanes. But with this, they may be able to move a lot faster because they'll probably do one side of it, add 2 lanes, then close this side, and then do the other 2 lanes. So it could be significantly faster. But yeah, you said so. They already have announced that they're gonna widen it.
Yes, they had the public comment period, I think, at the beginning of the year.
Okay. And did they say when it's gonna? You said that in the winter.
Yeah, that's when it was being planned.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So I guess that makes more sense than like I said than just using it for activities out here. So the interesting thing is we can kind of start to see some of the workstations a little bit. Um, some people are saying this is not one right here. It's the width of them is odd to me. Because if you had one in the front corner right here, I guess you may have. I mean, yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
They're moving the column. They are going to be much wider because they're not having the lattice around the outside of the building. So everything's on the interior. So those
Right.
walls are going to be significantly wider. It's when you look at it, it's going to a third of the space is going to be structural. Or a
Right.
quarter. It's crazy.
Yeah. And was there anything about a tower crane for this?
Not yet. Last week, there's 4 sets of in-beds next to the parking structure. I think Todd was like, "Oh, that could be basis for the tower cranes." Where just to the right of the restrooms, on the wall of the parking structure. Yeah, those. I think there's 16.
So for 4 cranes,
Yeah, potentially.
those don't seem big enough.
There for the columns, they'll probably be like a 30-foot pad, square pad for distributing the load, but where the actual attachments are.
I'm curious, like where those would actually, and even in the Gigabay in Florida, I've had a hard time trying to figure out where those would actually be located.
They're in the 2 each in the transfer aisles in Florida. The last flyover satellite images, the drill rig started working on that.
Oh, so they hadn't done the actual columns for the CFA piles for those yet?
Yeah, because
Okay.
they only did the foundation ones.
Interesting. Yeah, so the transfer aisles are basically along
Probably
through
where
here.
that. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you can see what the square for one of the between the red and yellow dump trucks, I think, is a bay.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. I was hoping they were going to remove a little bit more, so make things a little bit more clear, but they had literally just started this. I think
That morning.
Yeah, this morning. Yeah, so they've done a lot more since then. But yeah, fun to see some progress on that. Lots to go, and we can actually see there's some additives that they're adding in with each. I think they're doing it with each truck. You can see piles right here. I don't know if I think there's like one. They do one box for each truck or something like that. And there was some speculation last night that it was like some like bentonite additive, but I was doing some research on that, and it seemed like that wouldn't make sense. So
it's a
yeah,
plasticizer to make it
flow down
easier
the hose better.
for the cages to flow down, because bentonite would tighten it up and do the opposite.
Right. I forget with these, you do the cages first and
No.
concrete second. Right?
They
cages second.
Yep, they support the hole supported with the spoils, and then they pumps the concrete down and retracts the auger.
Gotcha.
Monitor how much is going down the hole to make sure it's filling all the voids, or if they hit a very soft pocket.
So that gives them time to slide these in before it starts like hardening.
They won't start drilling until the trucks, the mixed trucks are there and they've done their preliminary slump tests and stuff.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, you don't want to spin the auger because then you'll polish the hole and then it won't. The friction coefficients will be wrong. Fairly technical process.
A lot of random stuff.
Yeah.
So moving on, the Megabay door is open slightly, so we could kind of see a little bit of this workstation in here. Not a ton to see though. Did get a little side peek of Booster 18. And on the opposite side, we can kind of see in there a little bit. Yeah. So they have this new workstation in there. I like this little elevator that they have for the going up the chines.
That's snazzy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Some weird stuff going on back here. I'm not really sure what I'm looking at, but this is one of the workstations. They may be converting this possibly for the V3 boosters, I'm guessing. But
This looks like they're clamps.
But like the new ones?
Yeah, maybe not.
Shouldn't they be around that? I don't know. I don't think they should be inside of here like that. Yeah, that's a weird whatever's going on in there, this structure right there. But yeah, I'm assuming some conversion work, because by the time you finish 18, you need a place to actually rest it, which I'm guessing was going to be this back corner location. So there's probably some conversion work going on with that. Still got this mystery structure right here. Also, still have no idea what that's about. And in the other Mega Bay, the ship bay, that's not the ship bay. Neither is that. Okay. So in this front right corner right here, this is where they were putting the new workstation. They started off with the legs, which are actually embedded in concrete. So you can kind of see that they've finished doing this concrete down here. And then once that sets, they'll probably start adding in the platform there. So all the actual stacking happens in the back corner. Very interesting. There's like no space. It's really weird to me that they chose the back corner for that. But yeah, so some good progress with there. They do have the walls, the glass walls ready, the doors. And then we showed the platform earlier. They also have a new ship lifting jig. 4-point. I think it's it's a 4-point still, or 2-point, I think. There's
I thought it was
angle of it.
4.
Okay. Maybe it's not complete yet. Like there's another component of it.
Yeah, it looks too short.
Yeah. But this is like the third version, I guess.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
I missed a 2-point tile crusher.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. What else do we got? I think that pretty much does it for the ring yard area. Maybe we have some questions about that. If not, I'll probably go over to the Star Factory.
Yeah, we can knock out some questions, but I want to thank Drew and R for gifting a membership before we do that. Brady G111, will they frame to start pouring the foundation after they dig the holes for a Gigabay?
Yes, they were doing that with Megabay too. They're doing sections at a time.
Yep, I figured as much. Very well. Sayad Usmani, do we know the name of the company that's building Gigabay?
No, but we do know the name of the one that's providing the concrete. I think it's like it was something funny.
Like 50 something, I thought.
57 Space Concrete or something like that. Yeah, they had their name on the actual sign. I just don't remember what it was.
All right, not that important. Let's see. Thanks, Felix11, for a $10 super chat. Do you think Megabay 1 and 2 will be torn down as well?
Yes. At the very minimum, Megabay 1 will come down for sure. I think both of them will, though. It only makes sense. I mean, you'll just basically end up with a giant factory or a giant bay pretty much all the way down to here, if not all the way to the end. But yeah, it's going to be gigantic. Which makes sense because, you're going to have lots of vehicles that not only are being assembled, but between flights that need maintenance and whatnot. So, yeah, quite a lot of space. I think that when they get this up, the first thing they'll do is probably build like a few workstations for the booster. And then once they do that, they'll be able to start taking down the Megabay. Then they can add ship stations later. But the booster is most important right now because they want to extend it. And they can't do that until they have the new Gigabay. So that, in my opinion, is probably going to be their highest priority, is getting booster stations up and rolling.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good. And I'm sorry I don't know the context of this question from Cal L. What is the gray square near Megabay 1?
The gray square.
Yeah, we were talking about the Gigabay foundations and such during that time that question came in. I'm not exactly sure. I think probably over
Maybe
in the
this.
footprint of Gigabay.
Maybe this.
Perhaps, yeah, I think that might be it.
I don't know. Alex, got any idea?
No, it looks like they're just pumping groundwater. They pulled back all the fills they put down.
Yeah.
Because their clean out is down below towards Highway 4.
Yeah, it's pretty large.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll take one more from this section here. How do they move boosters around in the Mega Bay with a booster on the center stand?
Well, they basically come across, like they basically have to come through here. So it's close. It's a close because you have, let's see if you can see it from here. I mean, they basically come up and over this. And I think there's more room on this, slightly more room on this side. But yeah, they basically just cut this corner right here, essentially. I think it'll be easier in the Gigabay because they won't have to make movements like that. They'll just basically come straight into the transfer aisle. So that'll be easier for them. I mean, I don't imagine it's actually very difficult. but it's probably annoying because it reduces the amount of workspace they have a little bit.
All right, and a quick one from our very own Matt. Do we know what they're doing to the front of Star Factory there on the Segway image you had?
Yeah, it's interesting. This is like I want to say the third time they've done this. So I think what they did the first time was just replace panels. And then this time they're removing them and then adding a layer underneath them, I think.
Yeah, it looks like a vapor barrier of some kind.
Yeah, so I guess for some reason these panels were leaking. Water, because they've gotten a lot of rain. Not so much this week, but the past few weeks they were getting a lot of rain. So I think it was probably leaking into the factory, behind the walls or between the walls. So they're trying to put like a vapor barrier behind it. Wouldn't have that problem if they just put windows across the whole way.
Seriously.
Yeah. Yep. We tried to tell them a long time ago. Need windows. Yeah. That is really the only news for Star Factory for the most part. I mean, they got obviously that tent's gone, but that was old news. They're doing some weird stuff on the roof. I'm not sure what this is about. Almost seems like bird cages for the fence.
I think they replaced some of those, I thought. The air handlers up there.
Really?
Yeah, those were missing a few weeks ago. Yep.
No. You know what they need to do is replace the roof. I'm sick of seeing this gray
Seriously.
roof over here. Yeah, not a lot of Star Factory news. And I would say same for the village, but they're definitely making some progress on the actual apartment complex, which is fun, I guess. Is this a multi-floor car ramp? Like, what is going on? What is going
I think
on?
it's a car ramp, but I don't know if it's only going up one level or if it's going to go up two.
So
'Cause
yeah,
none
I
of-
guess you have. That's what? That's weird. So this thing's gonna be like a 3 or 4 levels high then.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and instead of having a central atrium or open space, I think it's going to just be a car park.
Fun. Yeah, that's interesting. I guess you can see like the size of each unit down here, essentially. Maybe.
Yeah, I know some of the outside are supposed to be some sort of retail. I
Right.
thought, but those look like apartments, or I don't know.
Rest of the village is still doing village stuff. A lot of the houses nearing completion that they started. Other than that, backside the village, got the pool back there, and maybe starting a rec center soon.
Or
But they got a rec
something.
center at the
Real West.
Rio West. Yeah. Rec center.
Those are not
I
very
don't like the
attractive.
brown on this at all.
Very
Reminds me of like
70s.
apartments. Yeah, it's like some old school style apartments.
Yeah. That's clashing with those sort of modern cube houses.
Are these just single family homes or are they duplexes?
I think some are single, but I think those two.
These ones are cool. I like these,
Yeah.
but they're pretty large houses, though. This has got to be a duplex right here.
Yeah, because it looks like it has multiple garage openings on the bottom.
Yeah. The school, I think. Is this a school?
Yeah.
Yeah, so school's coming along. Then they also had their other little super tight living area. This is the last one I would want to be in, I think.
I don't. That'd be rough.
Yeah. I mean, I've lived in little homes like that, like when I'm in Texas for work, basically in stuff like that. But you can hear everything. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and move us over to the launch site. First things first, actually, they have. We mentioned a few weeks ago they got permission to build an air separation plant across the street from the tank farm, and as of this week, they have started doing that. So the really interesting looking footprint they got for this, they've started clearing land for it. Imagining they'll probably have big storage tanks over here, and then all the other components of the air separation plant will be down here. I don't know if they actually need. They do need storage tanks, right?
Yeah.
You can't just transfer directly over to the.
You can, but I think they need some for part of the process.
Right.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It's not as big as I thought it was going to be.
They're fairly compact, but moving it, I guess you're gonna have to dig up the traffic circle.
Yeah, because they're gonna basically have to pipe underneath here somewhere. So whether that's across like this or through here somehow.
Yeah.
They should have put like a culvert where they could slide it in sideways, like before they did this.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah, so that's that. But this is good. I mean, they do have the other air separation plant in Brownsville. So they'll have basically two. This one will be basically directly piped into the tank farm essentially. So as far as we know, now that I'm seeing this, it's not very large. Like this is about the size of the one that was at Sanchez, if not slightly smaller. I don't have pictures of that I can pull up quickly. But yeah, I mean, it's about that size. So the one in Brownsville is definitely larger, that's for sure. So I do wonder how much they actually believe how much they expect to be able to supply from here. But I mean, if you're producing all day, every day, you only have 25 launches per year. I imagine you probably could supply most of it. I'm more curious about the one in Brownsville, how that fits into this, like if it's really necessary to have two of them. But yeah, we'll find out. So moving over to, I'll go Pad A first. The less fun one. They're getting prepared for that static fire test still. The ring stand is obviously on the launch mount. And they're doing some work. I think they are. Some of them are down here doing some welding on the actual with the mounting blocks that are on top of the clamps, and they do have. It looks like there's some angles where you can see it better. I think they've covered up the QDs with something like blankets or something because they're doing a lot of welding down here. So yeah, they're making some good progress on that. They have the blocks for the braces for the RVACs seem to be mostly finished. I'm not sure what else they need to do down in this area, but on the actual QD, yeah, this is just ridiculous. Lots of high pressure lines coming up in here. I think some of these are, most of them go to the ship, but I think some of them maybe for valve actuation possibly, but there are no valves in here, so that's weird. It's interesting that a good amount of them come back in this direction, so I don't know if they're like purges for these lines or something like that. But yeah, a lot of them, the ship does have a lot of inputs. So you have your LOX, methane bleed right here, which came all the way around through the side. I think this is nitrogen up through here, and then there's the two pre-pressed lines that come out from here, and one on the other side as well too. So quite the modification. And on that note, I'm sure people will ask if they're going to do both 37 and 38. Alex, what are your thoughts?
I think they'll do 37, take it all down, and launch. There is an off chance if they get enough data off of 37 that they might just skip 38.
You address
No
that
way.
question just as they start pouring in.
Right. I feel like it'll be disappointing if they don't launch 38, and that's just because this is such a massive amount of effort just to launch 37 that I almost find it hard to believe that they wouldn't launch 38. And with 38 moving out for cryo testing tomorrow, theoretically it should be done by Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, so it comes back and immediately begin engine installation. All of those engines get installed rather quickly because we've seen 37 have its engines installed already. I mean, I think one of the biggest parts of engine installation is like all of the framing that comes in after they put the engines in. They have the false ceiling and all that stuff. So yeah, it probably won't take too long to get 38 ready. And it's not like they need to put flaps and do all the tiles and all that stuff. Like they can just basically get it ready for static fire and then do that within a few weeks after 37, if not back to back. Because the amount of modification to this, I just don't think they'll want to repeat it. Cutting the holes, because all of these holes are going to have to be filled in. That was terrible angle for that. I guess I'll have to live with this one. There's so many holes through the actual hood. They'll have to have plates over all of these, basically weld plates over every one of these holes that they've put in it. And then, dismount the actual QD structure, shave it back down just to make sure the door opens up without colliding with anything that's left on the roof. And I don't think they'll want to redo that. And it's not like it's overall that difficult to redo it. I don't know if you can just lift all of this off at one time. I don't think you can do that. Like there's a lot of flanges down here, so you can like undo the flanges. But I don't think this is designed in a way that would allow you to quickly just lift off this entire structure. Like I imagine it's a piece by piece kind of thing. So I don't think that's something they would want to take down, reconnect everything for launch, and then redo all this and do that whole process twice. And same thing with this as well too. So, having to reinstall all those clamps. I just don't see them wanting to go through that process twice. So I personally think, and the other thing, you got all of these Raptor chill lines down here, which is interesting. There's actually 4 on each side, which is kind of confusing. I think, and I may be mistaken on this, 'cause, I mean, you only have 6 engines, so there should be 6 lines, but there's 8. There is Raptor chill on the methane side as well too, but I think that goes back through the bleed line, I believe. So it's weird that there's an extra one here, but they may, I don't know, I can't think of what that is, but this basically taps into that ring that goes around the outside that the boosters use there, the same manifold for the Raptor chill for the boosters. So they're basically tapping into that instead of allowing the Raptor chill to just come down the side of between the hold down arms. So good amount of setup work involved in this. I suppose most of these brackets could stay on, but they'll probably not be in the greatest condition after launch. What is he doing?
Welded.
Yeah. So I'm gonna disagree with Alex. I think they'll do both of them. We should put a poll in the chat.
Yeah. I've
How do we do
just
that?
seen SpaceX do some crazy stuff.
Astro Joe, can you make a poll?
I cannot. I've never had that ability, nor do I have the ability to post or pin a chat either. Yeah, I don't have any ability to do any of that. Be a channel manager. Might be Matt, might be Mauricio. I think that would be the only 2 to do it.
Well, I guess we'll see what we can do. And just looking in the chat, I haven't seen a whole. You see, one at a time. 6 months to add me. Haven't seen too many opinions in the poll denied. Yeah, I don't know. If it was me, I would do both of them back to back. I mean, you do have the chance that something happens with 37 that requires modifications on 38, which needs another static fire after that. But if something like that happens, then I would just not even fly at 38 at all. I would just, I would rather, if 37 fails, I think I would rather not go for the risk of a 5th failure on V2s. I would just leave it at 4. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, what would you do?
I
5th
mean,
time's a charm?
no. I'd just start crumpling it and be looking over at ship 20 and wonder how long it'd take to fit. I'm joking about that.
Yeah, I would personally wouldn't want, like, if it was me in that situation, I wouldn't want to be disappointed 5 times in a row. I personally think that the issues that they've had with the V2 ships might be kind of impossible to happen on the V3 ships. And that really comes down to whether or not they have a false ceiling, which right now it seems like they won't. Like they maybe have some kind of small false ceiling, but it won't be such a large space that's like leak prone. I mean, if it's anything like the booster, then there just won't be one. So, the kind of events that they had theoretically won't be possible on V3, depending on whether or not it has a false ceiling. So, yeah, I mean, at that point, there's so much work that you could get done with the tank farm. You could start dismantling Pad B earlier. Pad A earlier. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't fly 38 if 37 fails. Nobody wants to see 5 failures in a row.
No.
Some people barely even want to see 4 failures in a row. I mean, I think I'm
know.
hoping this one's going to go well. Like, there's no way that they should have the same issue. I feel like.
Oh no, I'll go with my sitting at a casino. There's no way I can lose 5 hands in a row.
Yeah, I'm a lot more. I feel a lot better about this one than I did about the last one. I just it would be really disappointing to see it fail again.
Yeah, no.
All right. So what else do we have over here on the pad A side? Not a ton. I think they finally finished doing the welding on the legs. Maybe.
I think so.
They look just disgusting. Yeah, they've still got a guy welding down here.
They've completely given up.
This thing needs to go, like seriously. Yeah, I would abandon the Flight 11 here just to get this restarted. And one thing Alex and I were talking about before the show is whether or not they will keep the tower. Because we know they're going to get rid of the launch mount. And I personally think they need to get rid of the tower as well, too. Because just because of the orientation of the flame trench, I don't even think it would fit here. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't. The gantry definitely wouldn't fit. I don't think.
No.
No. Yeah. So the flame trench wouldn't necessarily work that well because of the tank farm. And you're putting a lot greater volume of exhaust through this area. So you're basically tripling the exhaust flow through here. And that's not good, especially when you got these kind of tall tanks back here. I think that's an indication that the trench won't look like what we think it will, because these would be in the direct firing line of that. It might be better to redo the tower with a similar orientation to Pad B's tower, or at least rotate it a little bit.
Yeah, I personally think so. New towers basically stamp down a clone of B, depending on how it'll interact with the existing tank farm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you have it this way, then you do have a plume going through this part of the tank farm, but that's not so bad. It's farther away, at least.
Yeah, and if we look at Massie's static fire, most of the plume is vertical at that point.
Right. Yeah. So that might be fine. It's just going to be like raining on it and not actually getting a plume of dust per se. So yeah, it would make sense to reorient the entire tower this direction. Yeah, I just don't see them not moving the tower. They got to demolish the tower. Let's just leave it at that. I did say before that I didn't think that would happen, but now I do. But if they do that, then they're going to need to start another one sometime soon, right?
Definitely. I'm curious, since they're building the new one, start building a new one in Florida, or at least the parts we're seeing on trucks, if they're gonna add another section or not.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Florida is the amount of I don't want to call them pedestals, but amount of workstations, I guess, for those modules. I think there was 10 of them.
Yeah, it looked like
Maybe
enough
more.
for at least two towers at once.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that they'll probably start another tower for Starbase soon. That'd be cool.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they'll just build it in Florida and ship it here.
Right. Cool. Tank farm.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how deep we're going to go into this right now, but this was one of the cooler flyovers, I think, because at least for Alex and I, because we really like all of the trying to piece together everything that's happening here. Because there's just so much that sometimes it's hard to like trace things out. But when they're doing testing, it becomes a lot easier because you get pipes that are frosted over. So you can trace where everything goes. So like right now they were doing all this methane testing. I don't think they're actually using methane. They think they filled the methane tanks with nitrogen, or they're using nitrogen from one of these tanks and pumping it into the methane tanks. I'm still not 100% sure on that. Alex, do you have thoughts on that? Because I asked you about it yesterday.
I don't think they have. They've added some methane offload piping, but not ports to the front. And by where the Pope stack is, it looks like they're running a methane fill line that isn't connected yet. There, there's a black, right next between that tank and the Pope stacks, there's a black insulated pipe. Yeah, that one. The only thing that's tracks is that they're running that to the current offload point.
But that goes underneath here. Why wouldn't it go back there?
Yeah, I think they would loop it around because currently they have these two completely independent.
Methane, yeah. So these methane tanks are not connected at all to these ones. So
yeah.
Another like kind of cool shot, which is also related to this, is that you could see they were testing the actual. I don't think they were actually testing the pumps themselves, but they were at least flooded. So these are kind of cool things that you can see a lot of times, like during the before they start loading fuel, you'll see like the grass venting, the one that would go into the field over here, like before they start loading propellant. And this is kind of related to that, what we're seeing here. So you can actually see that these are like prime up lines right here. So as they're like flooding all of these pipes, I think they have some, yeah, they even have one right here. So they have another prime up line right there. So basically as the liquid is flowing through here, you have all this gas boiling off, and all of that boil off goes into these vents basically in one form or another.
No, it goes, there's a little pipe, little right where the two main propellant pipes are. Yeah, that one.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
It circles back. Yeah. To
here?
No, they're not venting this. They're capturing it over by the two vertical tank.
Oh, because it's methane. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So yeah, so as you're flooding this, you have all of the methane gas boiling off, and so you have a location right here, a location right there, and until you actually start receiving liquid here, you keep venting that off essentially. As a matter of fact, they probably would just keep doing it all the way until it reaches here. So you can see that at some point you start flooding the actual sump for the pump, and then that goes through to the other side, and you still have that return coming through here. So all of those combine down to this little manifold that's down here, which then goes, I'm guessing, all the way over here.
It goes. You can't see it on this one. It goes by the wall and down, so it's connecting to those two banks of valves underneath the pipe rack. Yeah.
Okay, so then it basically goes into here. I think after we're still trying to figure this out. We're actually literally talking it out right now. But yeah, it's really cool to see all of this. And then you also have the liquid nitrogen line that's flooded down here. Wait.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. You can just see it stop right here at the valve. And then you also have your methane line right here. This is the
This is all booster.
Why?
That one there coming up is for the detanking.
Yeah, and then you have this one coming from the liquid nitrogen side.
No, that's a liquid vapor return to the methane tank.
Dang it. Okay.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so much going on down here, but like I said, with them having all this stuff flooded right now, it makes it easier to like trace things out. I wish they were doing this on the lock side for so long, but we never. I think we actually did see it once from the aerial view, but I think if I remember correctly, it mostly stopped at the pumps and the heat exchangers, so we weren't getting as much indications of what was happening back here. But yeah, they're really close to being done with most of this. I would say if there was one area of the Pad B stuff that's nearing completion, I would say it's this. But there still is a decent amount to go. Right now, they're pretty much have this set up so that they can like recirculate. So instead of like pumping to the launch mount in the tower, they're basically able to use because they haven't put methane in those actual methane tanks yet. They can basically pump liquid nitrogen. Sorry, I'm a little confused about that. If it's pumping, basically pulling from the methane tanks and circulating it back, I think, or if they're pumping liquid nitrogen from one bank of tanks to the other. I don't know if that's set up for that.
The lock side is, but those two tanks are at the end. One's a supply and one's a dump for when they're doing locks testing.
Okay, so basically they're recirculating these tanks.
Yeah. You can see where the vapor line and the top fill line are nice and frosty.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
They got some new vaporizers that they'll be installing here soon. These are waiting at their little storage site, so we'll probably see those move down here sometime this week. But other than that, they still have 3 more that they need to add in over here. And then they need to get this out of testing mode, basically, and just like add a few pipes into here to connect. They're like this one right here is laying on the ground. So that'll basically put it into being able to supply the actual launch pad. I do wonder if there's more things that they'll switch out here before they do that, because this is like really seems like it's mostly meant for a testing setup. But yeah, it's possible that they'll leave it with the ability to do all this recirculating, which kind of makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. I think the next step is going to be flooding the actual propellant lines to the tower.
Wouldn't launch mount come before the tower? Because they're still.
Yeah, 6 of one, half a dozen of another. But they're doing all the booster stuff right now, so it's probably going to be a booster.
Yeah. But like I said, they're nearing completion on this. They did remove that manifold for the booster locks supply. So basically you have this manifold right here, and then there was another one right there, and it's now at Sanchez site, so they just removed it for some reason. Bit curious as to why, but yeah. Still got one pump that I think they removed this pump as well too. And then they got another methane pump to install, which they're waiting to do currently.
I thought I saw an actual pump at Massie's, a methane pump.
The motor?
Yeah. But yeah, we're missing the drive.
Yeah. That's about it for the tank farm. I'm not sure how much there'll be for us to talk about it over the next few weeks because, like I said, they're nearing completion on it.
Hopefully
but
he'll
they
do
still
a deep
have a
dive.
whole second tank farm that they got going on right here, which is the water farm. So, bit less complicated over here. Well, depending on which part of it you're talking about, but yeah, they're preparing to add in additional tanks here, which is going to be weird because they, for the most part, eliminated their ability to drive them in here. All of these were basically driven in here through the SPMTs and set down on the pedestals. But at this point, so we talked about this. We were talking about yesterday about this wall that they left here, and some people were thinking that they left it so they could finish this piping. I think they left this wall like this so they don't have to lift the tank all the way over the wall. Because this crane is probably going to have to get reconfigured to do this. Maybe not. But the actual tank, when it arrives here, will probably park right here, and then the crane will have to walk it back there. So that'll be fun. The other same thing with the other two. I might be able to roll these in, possibly. Sorry, they only have pedestals for one right now, so they got two pedestals back here. And it seems like they're preparing to bring in at least one new tank soon. But they do have spots for an additional one. So the thing that's really just crazy about this is that this is just insane amounts of water when you compare it to Pad A. So like, I'm gonna try and get a view so you can see both of them at the same time. Like these two farms, this is almost 3 times more water.
At least.
So yeah, like in its current state before they even add the additional tanks.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, definitely. That's
insane amounts of water. And I guess the question, on that note is like whether this is, do they actually use it all during each flight, or is it additional water for like, so you could rapidly do a second launch? I think that's a good question because I think that seems more likely because it just seems like excessive amounts of water if you use all of that, because most of it would be gone in. I mean, your booster's going to lift off within 7 seconds of ignition, so then you have the secondary water system that comes on after it's lifting off, so it's really about like a 15-second period, roughly. What was that?
right, but the large tanks will be shut off probably 5 seconds, 10 seconds after liftoff.
Right. So that's the crazy part, though, because it's like it turns on. I think like maybe like 5 seconds before ignition, maybe 5 to 10 seconds before ignition. So it like has like maybe like a 20 to 25 second runtime in total. So pushing all that out in 20 seconds is pretty insane. That's a lot of water. And then you have your secondary system that comes on after that, which is, I think it probably comes on about halfway through. As soon as the booster clears the top of the table, the launch mount is probably when those will kick on. So, and maybe even before that, but I don't know. You see lots of rockets lift up, like a lot of usually the deluge system comes on as it's lifting up, at least the deck mounted ones, but there's a lot of them that the water actually gets on the vehicle. So I don't know if there's a problem with that, and so we may actually see it come on before it actually, or at least at a low pressure, and then ramp up after it lifts off. But yeah, it's going to be impressive when that actually happens. I mean, the next question, I guess, is like when that we'll see a first test of this, and I'm not so sure that we will. Honestly, I think they'll definitely do a test that we'll be able to see for the deck, but I imagine the trench they may just wait for an actual static fire test. Like that's what I would do, because that's just absurd amounts of water down there in that trench. And I don't know how big the pumps are down there, but it'd probably take like 100 times longer to pump it back out than it take to put it down there in the first place. So, yeah, I don't know if we'll actually ever see that, but yeah, lots of work going on with this. Back here as well, Alex, what do you think? Do you think this looks like maybe the generators are going there? The only thing that makes me not sure of that is I don't know what these are. If these are actual supports, like vertical supports, or if this is just like electrical pass-throughs.
They're actual supports or pedestals with bolt-on steel embeds, and
That
it
means that probably not going to have those generators there then, right?
yeah, and it extends almost all the way to the road, but it's a weird pattern. And that almost looks like an elevator shaft, which is even more bizarre.
Do you think they'll ever have a payload integration facility at the site?
I hadn't thought of that, but potential.
I don't think the supports on the base of this are enough for something that tall. Let me try and get a top-down view of it. If there is one.
Yeah. It's one of the few things as launch sites that they made without piles.
Yeah, so probably not. I mean, the columns don't look like they're going to be that large, so
For a while, I thought it'd be a replacement for the comms control building, but or they have the two Starlink antennas sitting at the airport storage, but that seemed a little excessive for
yeah.
the launch site.
I do wonder if they'll eventually move the little break room that they have.
We can hope.
Because I don't like the location of this. So I imagine that this may possibly move here as well.
That was also initial speculation, and all the plans that we saw originally, they've definitely deviated quite a bit from at this point.
Yeah. Did they have anything in this location on those plans?
A gate.
Oh.
That's where, yeah, and D2 is clearly going away, at least as a transfer aisle.
Yeah, it's actually, I kind of like it better. So, I mean, you obviously are not going to be able to, this is a terrible angle for what I'm talking about. You're obviously not going to be able to get vehicles in through here. So this is the new driveway essentially, which makes way more sense. It's arguably a shorter path, especially for pad B. Might be shorter for both of them, slightly. But yeah, so they've gotten all this, I think, basically down to here. I think it might go all the way to the entrance. I can't tell.
I think it stops
right
where you
here.
originally thought, yeah, and now they're compacting down roadbed.
Yeah, so they've did a lot of new concrete over the last week. You can see this is probably a few days before this flyover. So they've gotten this part down here too, which probably irrelevant for vehicle transport. But yeah, they'll basically need to connect to that, which we'll probably see, if I have to guess, by the next flyover. They'll have this connected, and that way they don't have to roll over dirt with S37. But yeah, this will be the path that ship 37 takes to get into here, to get over to pad A, which is pretty nice. I like it. When you look at it from those other views, so it's like a really wide driveway. It's almost weird having that much open space on the pad. When you look at it from the other side, it can't fully see it like this. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, quite wide. And then the boosters, I imagine, or sorry, when it comes to pad B, that's going to be interesting. So I do wonder if they'll end up pulling up this direction and then going this way, or if can the SPMTs do full sideways crawls?
Yeah.
Okay, so they might just pull up and then sideways crawl over to here.
Yeah, or it's a tight diagonal, but they can definitely laterally move in.
Yeah. It's interesting. We did see the start of this pad last week, but it's got some interesting details in it this week. Actually, let's finish talking about concrete before we do that. So they also have done these little wings over here, which is hilarious to me that they didn't just wait and do the whole thing in like one monolithic pour. But yeah, so they're starting this. They will probably fill this part in next. Again, probably by the next flyover, I imagine this will be filled in. They do quite a bit of concrete work every single week now. And down in the corner over here, so a few weeks ago we did see the water line going through here. It was actually through this section right here, and I thought it went this direction, but maybe that is it coming out right here. Either way, it does go all the way down to the edge of the property for some reason. Alex, do you have any thoughts on this? Alex?
Yeah, it looks. I think if anything, they're going to put like a fire hydrant or something, because they also have a lot of conduit right next to it.
I'm trying to get the better angle of it. This one kind of seems like it's the best one though. But why would you? So just a big fire hydrant, like if you. But why? I mean, if you have like an actual fire event here, you'll never have actual firefighters come on location.
It's just everything about this outflow is bizarre, because why would you pull that much electricity to that corner?
Yeah, so what he's talking about here, there's quite a lot of conduit coming down over here, and it ends over in this corner. It's almost like they're going to build a big retention pond over here. But again, I personally think retention ponds are kind of pointless here. But I mean, it kind of seems like that's where it's going.
I think they need one just to check a box on a requirement report.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more curious of what happens to the rest of the water in these two sides, where it goes. So you'll be throwing a lot of water over in these two areas. This that comes off of this side might actually flow back down into the trench, depending on how far it's being thrown. If it's anything like pad A, it'll end up way over here, if not further. And same with this side, it'll end up way over here. So a majority of it's going to be thrown off of the pad, essentially. But yeah, the good news is most of the water will be down in the trench. or vaporized. There'll be a lot of water left over after the booster clears the pad. That's when most of the excess water will end up. Anything that's unlike pad A, anything that happens before ignition basically ends up in the wetlands. That won't be the case here. You'll end up with a absolutely gigantic steam cloud coming out at ignition. That'll be the heaviest part of that steam cloud, I think, because it'll be already a pool of water down there, and it'll just be throwing that entire pool of water out.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll be vaporizing for no reason.
Yeah. It's going to look like two giant balls coming out, like steam balls moving out either side, which I'm excited for. And we don't know what the deluge system will look like when it comes to the QDs. They may not have. It's starting to look to me like there's not going to be a water system on the QDs themselves. But on that note, this is a pretty cool view of that. You can see the hood up here for the methane QD, and then they obviously brought in the LOX QD a few days, like the day after this was installed. So yeah, these are looking really cool. So there's still going to be another piece on this on the backside, and then there'll be two pieces for this one as well too. And you can see they have nice doors on them as well. Took in lessons learned from Pad A to make those doors. I imagine they might survive a little bit better.
Yeah,
but
they have that nice flare hiding it a little bit.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. My favorite part about this is the stairs, like just the way that they're able to access both sides of the QD through the stairs and then walk out the doors. And this one only has one stairway, but yeah, it's still pretty cool the way that this is designed.
I thought it had room for two, but
yeah, it's weird that this one doesn't have two, actually. Oh, I mean, it kind of has room for it, but at this point, it's too late, right?
yeah.
No, because it's like a spiral staircase, right? So you couldn't put another one.
Right. I think the other one, just the way it was hanging off, they could make it as deep as or tall as they wanted to.
Yeah, because this one, you walk up through here, right? And then up through there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you walk on that side right there is where one of the stairways is.
Is it right here or is it in here?
You can right by the deluge pipe, you can see two of the risers.
Steps, yeah.
Yeah, that one's like an Escher stairway.
Yeah, seems like they're nearing completion on this structure for the most part. So over this last week, we've seen them add in the missing columns on the edge. And these are really funny to me because they don't support the structure at all. They're basically just for cladding, essentially.
Yeah.
So they have, I think there may be one that goes to this corner as well too, it looks like. And then there's 3 that come down to the ground, and I don't think they've started. Oh, they did start those on the other side too. So we will see them start to add cladding on this soon, which is going to take me back to the Pad A side so we can look at that. I think actually Tank Farm. So down here, we can see them assembling these. Terrible. Why did I do that? Is this a good one? Struggle bus. Yeah, we can see them down here. Panels for those. So they've basically been assembling these on site. I think they're just weird the way that these are designed, but they're also kind of cool. Just the amount of reinforcement on these is insane.
I know. I think they're assuming worst case scenario, a vehicle were to hit it. That
Oh. I mean, do you think this is enough protection if a vehicle were to run into it?
probably question mark. 'Cause-
Hopefully it's a ship.
right, fully loaded, not a chance.
I mean, they're pretty big though. There's extremely heavy duty. You can see the little panels down here, or the pieces of that there, because they're building more. So these right here are the corners. I think. Uh,
Yeah,
right here.
I believe. Yeah, one of them definitely. And
Yeah. So the entire structure will be covered with that. So I imagine that each part of that cladding will all be built over there instead of just mounting them building them in place, because it's pretty hefty structure. So yeah, it's gonna be cool though. Just drop in and then they'll have to weld it onto these beams. But I think it makes it somewhat replaceable, kind of.
yeah, I mean, the nice thing without those columns being load bearing, they have those massive valve assemblies that if they ever need to pull them out, they could definitely.
Get to them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really awesome the way this is designed, and it's gonna look. I mean, the whole structure is gonna look probably similar to this right here. So you will see additional cladding on top of here. If I had to guess, it might be at the height of the bottom of the QD, possibly and cover all the way over to this.
I think it has to.
Yeah, and then I think is there stairs on the outside of it anywhere?
No, not. The only stairs are between the walls and the edge beams.
These
On
ones?
the on the other side you can see it. This one I don't think's installed yet.
Yeah, and what's cool about this, which was something that we were kind of hoping was going to happen from the beginning, they are not done with the actual wall itself yet. So the this side profile view really shows it better. So I always thought it was kind of weird the way the wall stopped here, but it does make sense because I needed to get those pipes through there. But we have seen new wall sections that are, of course, over there by pad A again, somewhere. Yeah, there's a few down here. And then I don't know where the other ones are.
On the pad that they just poured, by right to the left with all the welding.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I think they're going to do both sides, but definitely this side, at least going up to the top of this, and maybe even up to the meeting the deluge pipe, possibly.
That should hit the deluge pipe because if you look at them, they have a matching profile. Of course, it's hiding.
This one.
Yeah.
So coming all the way up to basically meet right here,
Yep.
which was pretty cool. I like that. Yeah, it's going to look really nice once it's actually finished. And even I think just next week when all this concrete is in, every week it looks better. The weird thing, like I was saying earlier, that I started to mention and then completely got sidetracked on. So they do have the actual pad for where the ship and booster will be lifted from, and it's got some interesting details on it. So for one, it's as you can tell, super close to the actual trench walls, like insanely close. The crane's in the way right here, but it's like touching it basically, which is pretty wild considering the fact that the manifold comes over the edge a little bit right here on the side. So like your SPMTs, at least for the booster, would be right here. You can see how far away the booster would be. But then in the corner over here, we have these big or I guess they're going to add embed plates on top of this.
Correct.
So I guess I'm interested in the chat if they can understand why these are here. But there's a delay, so I'm not going to wait. Yeah, there's only one thing that we know that has footings like this, and that would be the static fire test stand.
That's just crazy talk.
Yeah. So basically, the embeds that we're expecting to see are these ones.
They do look about that size, don't they?
Yeah, which is curious. The implications of that are interesting. So either they want to go, I guess basically this is meant for any of their transport stands to come here, like your ship and booster stands, and then the static fire test stand. Cryo stands not necessary because those will not have engines installed. But I'm guessing the fact that they want the ship static fire stand to come here, number one, they're probably going to have multiple of those, so they're probably going to start building another one of those soon, if I had to guess. But they more than likely want to come straight from static fire testing to the launch site, or after catching a ship, go straight to static fire testing. What do you think's more likely?
Both. I mean, definitely if they're producing as many ships as they want to, they're going to have to move away from doing the fit out post static fire.
Yeah. I mean, you would think, though, that you would go take it to the bay and do some sort of checkouts before you do some static fires. But I guess if they want it to be as quick as they say, I mean, eventually they won't do static fire tests after launching. They'll just put it back up and go again, I guess.
Yeah. One and done for step. Especially when they're launching their personal payload. If it's once they're comfortable with it working right.
Yeah. I mean, the benefit, I think one thing that makes it better to use the static fire stand instead of the ship stand, or sorry, the regular transport stand, is that it's pretty tall. So it gets the clamps, or sorry, the aft flaps of the ship higher off the ground, which I don't know if it actually matters now that I'm thinking about it, because it still won't clear the top of they won't clear the top of the deck, I don't think. But the clearance between the ship's flaps and the edge of the table is like minimal. It's insane.
The flap's going to get hit.
Yeah, so they do have, it's difficult to see this because of the scaffolding, but there is a little notch, I guess, a little...
Yeah, right where your hand is.
Yeah, so it basically the deluge manifold goes like this and it stops there and then it gets smaller, whereas the other ones go all the way to the edge. And Alex was saying that this is most likely for clearance of the flaps.
Yeah. Ryan and I were talking about that last week, and I am just as surprised as you are about the placement of the catching location. I mean,
That's
stacking.
so crazy. That's like literally, you could just make, if the chopsticks were a little bit longer, then the table can move over, the whole trench could shift over just like a meter or two and make that completely unnecessary. Like the chopsticks are too short, I think.
Right. More reason to have a running change for pad A.
It's almost, is this max extension?
Yeah, I don't think they can swing it much more. Because it's just past.
I wish I could get a view that's like straight on that. Stupid crane.
Right?
So yeah, like how does it even get around the forward flaps?
Well,
I guess
they
maybe
pushed
tucked
them
in a little
back.
bit.
Yeah.
I wish this crane wasn't here, but I mean the rail is basically, where's the edge of the rail? Right here.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Exactly. And I'm assuming that inner ring of piles is about 9 meters. So
Surely it can open a little bit more. It's gotta be able to open more. That's just crazy. This is like the craziest part of the entire design to me. And the only part of all of this that I hate is this.
I mean, the cutout in that manifold, it seems like it was. What did we do? It's like they didn't account for the manifold feeding the top deck.
Yeah. Hey, at least they realized it,
True.
because it would suck if you brought the ship here for the first time and you're like, oh, we can't actually set it down here because it's gonna collide with the deck. And they're like, oh, well, I guess we're not launching for another 3 months.
Right.
But yeah, that's very interesting to have to make that kind of change to a design in order to account for the flaps of the ship.
It's going to be very interesting to see if Florida has the same issue.
I imagine it. With the chopsticks being the same, probably,
That's true.
because you're really limited on where you can place the. I mean, there's only one option for where you can place the launch mount because of the
Right.
chopsticks.
Yeah, that geometry is cruel.
Sometimes it's even hard to believe that the chopsticks reach the center of the table.
You have to model it to. I had to model it to convince myself.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Not gonna dwell on that for too much longer, but we do have some. I'm sure this was probably shown last week, maybe, but there are some of the hold down clamps installed. They're still missing the little ball that sits right here, but the actual part that swings out and grabs the booster is in there, at least on some of them. So those are pretty cool. I don't know if there's any laying around on the deck right here for us to see.
No, I think there were some over by that white tent last week, but I didn't see any this week.
Okay.
I looked.
Yeah, that's still pretty cool though. Nice design change. I'm interested to see them actually how it retracts. like the full mechanism. I honestly have been just like too busy with everything else to pay attention to that, intentionally trying to avoid getting too deep into things like this. But yeah, really cool that they've gotten those starting to be installed. Just making tons of progress in general. Still got to add all the flex hoses in here for the actual QDs. But I think they're getting close on that. When we look on the other side over here, I think they may have, filled in the in between the trench. Sorry, in between the GSE trench and the trench walls. So there's a lot of green pipes that went into here, high pressure pipes, I think. So they finally covered all that up, and yeah, making really good progress. They still got to add some the covers on this, and then probably start doing concrete in this area soon-ish.
Yeah. Will happen sooner than probably by mid next week. If
Yeah.
the last few weeks or anything go by.
Yeah, pretty amazing. I'm liking it a lot. Other than the whole
And
flat.
the crazy pipes that I speculated might be for flame buckety things turned out to be giant purge. Yeah.
Yeah, so they have huge pipes inside of here. I think there's one over here.
It from the ground photos, it looks like it basically the entire lower level, except for the center section, it gets protected by these.
Does it not come up to the second floor?
Not yet, but so far, except for where the QD runs are, the second and third floor are primarily hydraulic controls, it seems like.
Oh, okay. So yeah, basically allowing them to completely purge the bottom floor. I'm guessing the entire propellant loading process, or do you think it's like if a fire is detected?
Yeah, or a concentration above a certain threshold.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah, so lots of safety features on here that didn't necessarily exist on the original launch mount. I think they had some sort of nitrogen system on the inside of it that I traced out at one point, but it was difficult to actually like fully prove that it was in there. But this one is super obvious because these are massive pipes with holes in the bottom of them, so you can actually see it pretty well. But yeah, they really thought of everything on this, and I will say, while I originally was like really hoping that this was going to be an interchangeable structure, I think the protections that they have for it probably make it unnecessary. Like I don't know. I think it turned out better than I was expecting so far.
The way they welded the deck to the legs is also easily to undo. So they technically could remove it without destroying the support structure.
Yeah, but there's a lot of I guess you have a lot of pipes coming up through here,
Yeah.
specifically on the
Yeah.
methane side, and then the water stuff coming in through the bottom, which is
It wouldn't be
eliminated.
easy, but sort of doubler plates instead of welding it directly to that load plate.
Yeah. And there's not really a view that can fully see this, but they did add a bunch of water pipes. This stupid crane.
Yeah.
You can see more pipes coming up through here. Up there's the big one right here coming up to the deluge manifold. I don't think there's a view where the crane is not in the way, though.
No.
No. Last but not least, I got some images in here that don't belong. They are kind of getting close to finishing the stuff in between the little bunker right here and the tower. So they've gotten all the cryo pipes in here right now. There's only 3 of them, I think, And then all the high pressure stuff. I don't know where that goes. I don't know if it goes in the trench or not.
It has a sun trench-ish.
Oh, so these aren't for the tower, right?
No, it's right to the right on that cableway. There's
right here.
Yep, and right there you can see where that's all the ship stuff.
Oh, it comes out right here, right?
They didn't even use that opening for reasons.
Yeah. So yeah, they're making some good progress on that. They basically just got a few more pipes to lay in there, then connect them to the stuff coming out of here. And I think they actually started doing placing some like posts on here, which may end up having like a cover on top of it. Hopefully, I'm assuming they're going to put a cover on it because like it's literally always filled with water. It's probably disgusting down there.
It's a nice mosquito breeding program.
Seriously, you can almost see the eggs from here. But yeah, they still got some work to do down here. They're adding in new manifolds. Like this whole area down here is just intense. There's just so much happening, and there are even more pipe racks that they're adding. There's 2 more that they're going to have right here. So this is just. I almost hope that they end up putting some like cladding on this because it seems like they can. For the most part, all of the pipes are within the footprint of it, other than in a few areas. But I imagine they'll actually put like a top over this or something. Maybe.
They did that on the LOX valves on Pad A.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Similar to that, putting a roof over it. But yeah, I mean, as much as it seems like they're getting super close, they still got some work to do. This is the Firex detonation suppression system. The water supply for that is being set up right now. They got the big wall going across, and the water pipes coming up through here for that. So still a ways to go, but like I said, making tons of progress. Did they remove? Yeah.
They never installed that section.
Oh, okay. I guess they're just waiting for the other the other tank to come in here before they do that.
Right.
Yeah. I don't even want to check the time because I'm afraid of what it's going to tell me. Astro Joe, do we have any questions from the chat about launch site stuff?
Yeah, we got a lot of questions. I actually had to trim some down, and in the best interest of time, we are 3 hours and 7 minutes in. So yeah, just wanted to let you know that. Yeah. So yeah, I got a lot of questions, and I am going to try to avoid some to avoid redundancy. So sorry if I don't address your question directly. But Drunar, thanks for gifting a membership. Sharpie, when the OLM at Pad A gets torn down, will the BQD be in the same format as Pad B?
Yes. Yeah. It'll basically be an identical launch mount to what they're building over here, and I do think they'll need to rebuild the tower. There's a chance that, now that I think about it, like there's a chance that because the base of this tower is slightly taller than the other one, there's a chance that it might have to get rebuilt in order to be able to lift a ship. Not sure. Really quick before you read the next question, if you guys haven't done so already, do us a favor and hit that like button. I think it's literally been like 6 months since I've said that. But yeah, some of you have done pretty well. I think we're up to like 500 likes, but we definitely appreciate that. It helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. So yeah.
Most
Next
definitely.
question.
Thanks for that. And so Oliver the Space Nerd, and if they do topple the tower, would they topple the tower or take it apart in sections? Would having to topple it into the mud flats might be a bad idea?
Super bad idea. Um, uh, it's going to take a long time to do, and I'm not necessarily sure how, like how they'll do it. And the main problem is that the columns are filled with concrete, so like e- even if you cut the welds, you'd still have to cut through them, all like through like 4 feet of concrete, um, to fully sever the columns. And at that point, the columns, the sections themselves will be so heavy that you won't be able to do it with the any of the cranes that they've had here so far. You'd have to bring in a much bigger crane. I think the LR 13,000 in order to do something like that, and even that might be pushing it. But at least on the, especially up on the top sections. But yeah, I think it might even make more sense to take down all of the, like, level by level, take down the lateral supports, if that's even doable, and then cut through these columns section by section after you have all the middle stuff removed. But yeah, it's not going to be fast.
Yeah,
Tape
definitely.
charges.
Shape charges. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, you could chop the columns in a couple pieces and have little kickers to kind of have it sort of fold on itself as it came down.
Thermite.
It's like
I like
taking, It's like taking down a bridge column.
Right.
Sure. All right, we'll move on. From Daniel Hugbin, do we know the capacity of the water farm for Pad B between the flame trench and the deck pancake, and how does it compare to Pad A's?
We don't know the actual capacity, but I mean, it's fairly easy to say it's at least 3 times greater. Um, I don't think we've ever seen volumes like a lot of tanks have placards on them. Almost all of them do, but I don't think we've ever seen them for these. So it would be really nice if when the next two roll in, if somebody happens to, matter of fact, I'm going to message Starship Gazer, to see if he can try and capture a placard when these two tanks roll in, so we can get an idea of the volume. But right now, no, we have no idea what the volume of these are.
From the PAE, the Pad A's, I think they've used on one of them 170,000 gallons. I think they
Right.
have around 260 to 300. This one they're saying it's like 440 something, but I think that's for an actual, yeah, or it's an actual. We could use up to this much per launch, but not the bulk. The bulk storage is well above that number.
So like 600,000 gallons ish.
Yeah, definitely. Because those larger tanks, I think, are around 88 or 90,000 gallons.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, from Spherical Cow, why couldn't they build an apron-style flame diverter facing east towards the beach for Pad 1 instead of a bidirectional flame trench? Wouldn't need to rebuild the tower for that.
That's a lot of exhaust flow on one side.
And
I mean,
Had another question related to that. What about the exhaust plume and the new air separation plant?
yeah. Yeah, that's part of the reason why we think that it needs to go in a different direction. Part of the reason why it makes sense to completely redo the tower. There's lots of reasons to completely redo the tower. Um, yeah,
the
I mean, what was that?
I mean, just potential heat damage from all the spalling and questionable settlings that may or may not have happened.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got for Pad A and Tower 1. Let's move along. I've got a question from Matt. Could the conduit running to the corner possibly be for some kind of a redundant backup system of sorts?
Mm. I mean, I don't know what that would be. Um, like I don't know what kind of backup system it would be. One thing would be cool is like some big lights, um, like some to shine up on top of the full stack.
Yeah. Somebody during show and tell last night suggested bringing the Gateway to Mars sign back.
Yeah.
Be great for the first static fire.
Yeah, right.
I don't know where you would put it. I mean, I guess right here would maybe be the best place for it, if the wall is tall enough. But yeah, I don't know how that relates to the water situation that they're clearly setting up. So yeah, um, I'm not sure what to say on that one.
Yeah, same. We will soon find out, I'm sure. Question from Sharpie: do you think the BQD covers will have its own deluge system to keep them cool?
I'm not sure. Alex, what do you think?
I originally thought so, but now I'm not so sure. I don't know how you'd mount it on the current system.
Yeah.
The doors and everything else seem to seal up much better than the OG.
All right,
Yeah.
couple of
Might not
similar.
be necessary.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it might not be necessary. With the direction that the vehicle is going to leave the pad, it might not be necessary. On that note, I'm just thinking about it. The chopsticks kind of limit the pad avoidance maneuver a little bit.
Yeah, they're not going to be is that
Like they might be
tip
going straight
over.
up.
Yeah, more. They
Which is
might be
good.
able to go straight out the direction of the trench too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's gonna be exciting.
One thing I did forget to mention, actually, now that I think about it, they have been installing the little. You can kind of see them up here. The steel plates that go in between the bucket and the wall. They've been installing that on both sides. So this will actually, once they get rid of the scaffolding, it'll look pretty cool.
They better soon.
Right. Cool. Any more questions?
Indeed. Yeah, I got one from Lyric Bread. Any speculation on why dual booster QDs? Is it a simplification of the booster's internal plumbing? And then to tie into that, why are the BQDs 80 degrees apart and not 90?
They're actually 72 degrees apart, but
There you go.
when the booster's up there, the center line of it won't be diagonal across the pad, really. And that has to do with the chopsticks geometry and how they lower it. Also, it's a safer design to having your oxidizer and fuel separate. So any amount of residual gases, you're not bringing the extra oxygen to the party. You can just purge it out, and you don't have any sort of explosive danger.
Yeah.
All right. Question from Graham. Why change the BQD design to this? What are the benefits? It seems to be a bit heavier of a BQD to lift and close, so it would be harder to control.
Wait, say that again?
Why change the BQD design to this? What are the benefits? It seems a bit heavier of a BQD to lift and close, so it would be harder to control.
If it's actually smaller than the existing one, and it's more or less almost an identical carriage mechanism is what's happening on the Pad A's.
Yeah, I don't think
It's
the opening and closing is any more difficult. It seems like it's if anything easier because it's a shorter. It's not doing a whole 90-degree rotation with the door, and so it seems like it's a quicker mechanism more than likely. Yeah. I did see a question in the chat asking why is Zack ignoring the final tiered environmental assessment to calling out a collection pond in the corner. I did mention that. I said that earlier. I we know that there's supposed to be a retention pond over here, but I mean it's not going to be within this footprint. Like it would have to be over here. And what I said about that was I think it's pointless. Yeah.
It is pretty pointless. And I think it's like I said, I think they're going to do the bare minimum to hit that checkbox.
Yeah.
There are a lot of questions still coming into chat, but I think my chatbot is broken or it's on a timed schedule. They're not filtering into my chatbot anymore. So if y'all want to address some of those from chat, but I do want to thank Kenneth for a $10 super chat with a question: when do y'all think will be the first static fire for Pad 2?
I would say maybe in December-ish or January. I don't know. The booster stacking is about halfway complete with booster 18. They still haven't done the structural testing on that, but that based on historical stuff, that probably won't come in the way of anything. Hopefully they at least get it done before launching. It doesn't seem like they're making it a requirement before they actually finish the vehicle itself. But yeah, so you have the cryo test. The actual test station seems to be at least within 2 months of being completed. And then you install all those engines. The question is where they're at with Raptor 3 as far as how many they've produced. I imagine by then they'll probably have enough for that first booster. And then there's still quite a bit left that they're got to do here, but I imagine that by September or by October-ish that they may be able to at least start testing systems like cryo testing and whatnot, like and just general tanking tests, but the actual static fire might be a while. What do you think, Alex?
December is I think, is safe. And I think it all depends if 18 is going to just be the test mule or they're going to actually have it do everything. Because commissioning this is going to be a little more exciting. Not to mention the elephant in the room was the ship QD. No idea when they're going to complete it, much less lift it.
Right. Yeah. Now that you say that, I would be surprised if Booster 18 flies. Like, it might be a good idea not to, actually.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Unless I'm scrolling up chat, I just tried to reboot the chatbot again, and it says no. It just barfs a bunch of code. I say we should wrap it up, my friends.
Cool. Well, yeah, we are about 3.5 hours into the show, so good as time as any to wrap it up. On that note, thank you everybody for being here with us today. Definitely appreciate all of y'all tuning in with us for the full 3.5 hours. It's definitely quite a long show for us. So definitely thank all of you for sticking around through that. Also want to thank everybody for all of the donations today. Really helps us out with just, being able to conduct these flyovers and whatnot. So definitely appreciate all of your support. Also, thanks, Alex, for helping me out today. Definitely necessary. Sometimes fall behind on things, so nice to have a second opinion, and especially on things that I don't understand quite as well. And also, thanks to Astro Joe for handling all the questions and donations, and all of the mods in the chat, and Matt for running the stream, and of course, Mauricio for getting up there to perform this flyover. So with that, I will pass it off to Alex and see all of y'all possibly next week, maybe the week after. Not sure.
Thank you, Zach. It was a great time. Can't believe it was 3.5 hours. And I'll thank the same group of people you did and save myself having not miss anybody. So with that, it's all you, Joe.
Yeah, exactly right. I'll echo all those sentiments as well. And thanks everybody and everybody involved in the RGV production team, as well as Mauricio and Fred for getting up there and getting us these awesome images. Most engines cut off, hot staging confirmed. Love you, bye.